Hey, welcome back to the block. This is the Tough Block Podcast. Y'all have not seen us in about 2 years, but we back in the game, and you already know we had to start getting in this game with one of the biggest, most influential people in our people.
In our culture.
In our culture. Without further ado, my brother Big Body Cisco.
That was me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm thinking somebody going to walk in. I'm like, who are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? Oh, thank y'all. Thank y'all. Appreciate
Come on,
that.
man. You one of the biggest influences, man. That's why we had to get you on
Man,
here.
I appreciate that, man.
Bro,
You know, a lot of work, a lot of bullshit just to get to what we do and what we do now.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, thank y'all.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, let's dive right into it. For those that don't know, like we said, big icon in the game.
Yeah.
But let's start from the core.
Yeah.
Who is Cisco Lutu, and where did Big Body come into fruition?
Man, you just said the whole government name, too.
Sheesh.
At least we got Cisco still the nickname.
Right.
But, man, I'm just a kid, man. I was raised in Long Beach in the Bay Area, San Francisco.
Okay.
So we started off in Long Beach, but my family was always always was in California.
Right.
And, you know, I was just that knucklehead kid, man. You know,
sir.
just the class clown, you know,
Yes,
always
sir.
making jokes. And,
Yes, sir.
you know, was raised by, you know, my two strong parents and, you know, driving us up between Long Beach and San Francisco all the time because we had family in both spots.
That's a drive.
Those drives was where I learned my music from.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I got all my
Makes
R&B influences. I got all the old school soul music. So I fell in love with music early.
Right.
And, you know, I've always wanted to be a DJ, and we could never as a family afford the equipment.
Yes, sir.
So I was the dude who had the cassette tape, but I would block the tops and I would record off the radio, but always loved music.
Right,
And
right.
my family loved music. My uncle, who I'm named after, Cisco as well, he used to sing in Samoa, and he was on that circuit.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always asked my mom and dad who I was named after. They was, oh, you're named after your Uncle Cisco. So, you know, rest in peace to my Uncle Cisco. But, you know, just kind of holding that weight was just something that when I grew up, I said, look, I'm going to be something in music.
For sure.
You know, I mean, everyone thinks they can sing at the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, when mom and dad was doing their duets going up, you know, driving up on the 5, I was always singing behind them. So,
Right.
you know, and, you know, when you're raised in church as well, you start singing in the church. Of
course.
So, you know, I was one of the best tenors in church, just to let y'all know that.
Go ahead.
But when I did that, you know, me and my brother and my sister, we was all singing in the church, and you know, we was raised in California,
Right.
So we were raised with English as our first language.
Yes,
So we wasn't raised, you know, by speaking Samoan.
Of course.
So you know, when I see people now, they say, "Oh, you have an accent," you know. And I was like, what accent is that? So when I go to New Zealand or if I go to Samoa, someone's like, oh, you speak black. And I'm like, I don't know that was I didn't know that was an accent.
right.
But that just comes from my upbringing. You know,
course.
You know, in Long Beach at first, and then we moved up to San Francisco.
That
and-
Ebonics.
Yeah, so, you know, and we just kind of went with there. And then when I started to grow up and kind of seen the music scene, I kind of like, you know, was listening. My mom and them would listen to 5 Star and all the Samoan music.
course,
But then they listened to the old school R&B.
Okay.
They had the Manhattans. They had the
Yes,
Smokey
sir.
Robinsons going on.
Yes,
So
sir.
I didn't really get introduced to reggae until my brother CB started playing the Bob Marley Legend album. And, you know,
Classic.
still to this day,
Big classic.
I was raised on R&B, and I'm an R&B dude, but still when reggae came into the scene, it was like there wasn't no island reggae, you know,
course.
singers
Yeah.
at that time that I
Fiji
knew of.
started that.
Yeah, so you know, when we're in high school, now then we go to our rap days. You know, we think we're a rapper and when we're in high school. You know, and I was playing football at the time. I was at San Francisco City College, and you know, that was my rap career.
Oh, you went CCSF?
Yeah, so I went to City College. I'm a Ram, you know, so
Yes, sir.
and
Sack the hole.
throughout growing up, it's all about loving music.
Right.
And I always knew that, you know, if, you know, sports didn't work out, or I always wanted to be in the music, you know, entertainment business.
For sure.
Because, you know, at the family parties, I was always to do hey, go do that dance for everybody. And I'm like,
That was
okay.
us.
So we would like walk up there, my brothers and all. So me and my sister were the ones that stuck out. And my mom was like, you're going to be destined to do something, you know, in entertainment.
Yes, sir.
At the time, you don't believe them, you
Of
know,
course.
but, you know, I after college was done, I was kind of saying, okay, let me get into this entertainment industry.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of the Bay Area DJs was a big influence to me. Shortcut, DJ Apollo. I started seeing like the turntablism.
Right.
I was like, okay, I can't do that.
Right,
And I don't plan on sitting there learning how to do that. But what can be my avenue to this?
Right.
And growing up loving music, I had went to Hawaii and I seen, and I'm kind of fast forwarding, but I'm just kind of getting you guys where I'm at.
Yeah, no
I
worries.
seen this DJ and he had my boy B-Cat. I'll never forget it. He was next to the DJ, just talking on the mic.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what does he do? And he was just getting the party hype.
The hype man.
So he knew the music, and he was like, so he knew when the drops were gonna come, and he kind of, you know, coincided with the DJ.
Of course.
Turn the music down. Oh, mom, you know, my fella's in the house, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I said, I could do that. I could do that.
Crowd control.
Yeah.
So after a few Hennessy's, that same night, I kind of made my way up to the DJ booth and was like, hey, let me try that. And he, you know, at that point, he wasn't going to tell me no. You know what I mean? So I kind of took the mic over, and from that point on, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
I may not know the turntablism and how to mix songs, but I'll learn that later. But I know I could talk.
Of course.
So I took the mic. Yeah, so I went back to the Bay Area with that, and a lot of the Bay Area DJs were doing parties, and I kind of said, hey, let me get the mic real quick.
Right.
And they were like, oh, yeah, for what? So I mastered my craft in the Bay Area because I was learning from each one. So when they had Big D, DJ Quick came to the Bay Area.
Man.
And he came, and I was like, hey, let me get on the mic. And security was like my family.
Right.
So he was like, security, come get him. I was like, oh, that's my cousin. So security was letting me get close to DJ Quick. And I kind of took the mic from there and was like, okay, now I'm not afraid to do it with a bigger DJ.
Yeah.
Now we have like DJ Quick. And now, so I kind of like mastered that craft. And I went and a concert that came up. And they was like, hey, can you come and introduce, you know, the act? So I was like, all right. So everyone was kind of like shy about it. I took the mic and just kind of fell into it and kind of like talked to the crowd. Not like that I'm a comedian, but I can make things. Yeah, I can entertain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I went out there, you know, I seen a dude with a horrible shirt. I was like, man, you wore that shirt. You know, so that whole thing with the crowd interaction kind of had me kind of saying, man, I could do this. So it was funny when I was doing that stuff in the clubs in San Francisco, a promoter came up to me and was like, hey, how much do you charge for that? And I was like, oh, I can get paid for this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, a couple $100 and a bottle of Hennessy or a bottle of, you know, alcohol. So I was like, okay, I could get paid to doing this. Yeah. I started to say, okay, and then I said this before. They said, oh, do you have a manager? And at the time, I didn't want to say I didn't have a manager.
Of course.
I said, you know what? Let me get you his email, and we'll go from there. So I made my own email up and just kind of answered, you know, the emails.
Smart.
Hey, we want to book Cisco. Hey, how you doing? This is Cisco's manager.
They ain't gonna know.
You know what I mean? They don't know who it is.
Yeah.
So I kind of did that for a little bit, and I was, you know, I made a living out of it.
Dang.
So it started to, you know, fast forward to where Jay Boog would come to town, and he was like, damn, you know, hey, you do this for a living? So I was like, man, I could bring you out.
For sure.
Any artist that came to our area, I wanted to make sure I brought him out.
Yes, sir.
Whether I got paid or not.
Right.
So I was like, you know what, let
Stamp
me
your
do
name
it.
on it.
Yeah. So really it was just, and the rest is history. You know, I've been doing it for years now, and it's just something that I've mastered my craft and kind of got into the podcast game, but we'll get into that as well.
For sure. Man, you can tell you a natural at this thing.
Yeah,
real,
I mean, you know, I like to hear myself talk. So if you guys ain't noticed that by now, but it's just something because I always like to speak clear. So people are saying, well, hey, when you get on the mic, you speak clear. You know, you don't stutter as much. Yeah. And this is in the club. You know, after a few drinks, it might be a little bit of stuttering, but it was just something that came natural to me because I used to talk my way out of ass whoopings with my parents. Whose weed is this? And you know,
man, I don't know.
My brother was like,
know.
it was my weed, but I blame my brother.
Right.
And you know, after he got the ass whooping, I say, that was my weed. But you know, to this day, we laugh about it. He was like, nah, that ain't funny because I got my ass whooped.
Yeah, facts.
But I used to have to talk my way out of situations.
Of course.
And I think, you know, they say gift to gab. I think that kind of like turned into what I do for a living.
For sure.
You know, when I'm entertaining a crowd when I'm talking on a podcast, that's what I do. You know what I mean? So it's definitely something that's helped me throughout my career.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because even when you say that your parents were the one that tossed you out there in front of the family gatherings and everything, me and my brother were the same way. We were the Blackstreet Boys back in the day, man. We were doing every dance move that they had,
exactly.
NSYNC stuff. But from there, I mean, when you're a child, you obviously get the anxiety, but when your parents are forcing you to do it, it's one thing. But then,
it's either get the belt or go perform.
Yeah, that's
so I didn't want to see the belt, so I was going to perform. So that's how it kind of came for me. And you know, my brothers and sisters, they was like, "Oh no, we just going to get the belt." I'm like, "I'm gonna go perform."
Right. Nah, I'm gonna skip that ass whooping. Fuck that.
I work for this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. With nowadays, mental health and anxiety is such a big topic, especially for men. How, especially now, man, you do so much in the game, Cisco. Like you do so much. How do you handle that? How do you take that head on?
I don't, because there are my times that I have with mental health. You know, when I moved out here to Vegas, you know, I moved out here by myself.
Man.
And there's those times when you're at home, like, is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
And you know, on social media, you broadcast your wins.
Yeah.
You don't broadcast your losses and all that too. So I kind of had to deal with that, where my parents are in Utah, my family's in the Bay, and I'm the only one out here in Las Vegas. So not just in Las Vegas, just growing up in general. I think growing up in a Polynesian household, you know, where you know, it was taboo to kind of like talk about your problems.
Yeah.
You know, so it's crazy because nowadays I try to tell, you know, I tell my own kids, I say, hey, if there's something wrong, talk about it.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
when we was growing up, we couldn't talk about it.
Nope.
Because,
Right.
oh, you don't talk about it. I'm thinking, wait, isn't that what church is for? Isn't that what this whole, So, growing up and not
about
having
bingo.
exactly.
Not about bingo.
So growing up and not having that out, it was kind of like bottled up.
Right.
I see this generation kind of like, you have more resources now.
For sure.
I wish we had those resources.
straight up.
I wish we had those outs to kind of like say, let me go write in my journal everything that I kind of wanted to do, which, I didn't know at the time to do it, but it was something an out where I had to bottle everything up and just, whether it be the gym or playing football or playing some kind of sport, just kind of letting it all out there.
Of course.
I had to learn that. And what sucks is that kids nowadays, they'll go to suicide instead of having that out. And, and I try to tell kids all the time, it's like, stop, especially in the social media age, you're comparing yourself to social media. He's getting a new
trying to impress
car.
people.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. And we live in a world where it's instant gratification.
Yeah.
And I think mental health in the Polynesian community, and I'm not going to talk about like, I'm, facile. See, God was just telling me to go and speak. But it just kind of like, I had to tell my kids that I didn't have that out that they have. I didn't have these opportunities. And the youth, of the Polynesian kids, now it was either catch an ass
I think that
whooping.
might be yours again.
I thought it was God. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Might be the devil.
But like I said, we have these outs now.
Yeah.
I love that we have forums like podcasts to talk
Yes, sir.
about mental health
sir.
and there's stuff on YouTube that these kids can watch now and kind of see our experiences that we didn't get to talk about when we were growing up.
Right.
Don't get it twisted. I got my ass whooped. My family got our ass whooped.
Yeah, I'm about to whoop your ass.
You wish.
Yeah. He's a.
I was like, I was about to say, he said, my mic's messing up, but it's cool. We're going to do it. But, we all grew up a certain way. And I just know in our Polynesian household, we was raised with the iron fist.
Right. Yes, sir.
We was raised with
That
a
tough love.
That tough love where,
Straight up.
we didn't know what CPS was back in the day. So, like, when we took the aspirin, we just kind of called, like, an uncle we could confide in or an auntie we could confide in, where now you can call that CPS number. Later on down the line, when I was getting out, I said, all right, you could get arrested for this. And my dad was like, oh, yeah?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. We knew
Trying to
about it. It's
reason,
just like,
yeah, you trying
are
to
we really
reason.
going to take that risk?
And so when my dad started saying, "Oh, we'll see if they make it here on time," I was like, that was a threat,
Right.
But you take those into like when I'm a father now,
Yeah.
and I kind of take it as I don't want my kids to be raised the way I was raised.
Right.
They didn't have the resources that I have now.
For sure.
And nothing against my mom and dad. And, they raised us, the way they were supposed to raise, and how my dad did, and how he was raised in Samoa.
Of course.
But it's like when you're in the States and you can't get those ass whoopings.
Yeah.
You can't, one of my oldest son was going there and he came with his report card. I remember when I came with my report card, my dad would whoop my ass. If I had an F,
Straight up.
if I had a D,
Yep.
I knew walking home, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get my ass whooped. So I would get the
Turning
sweats.
that D to a B.
I would put my
Towards
sweats
so
under
many
my jeans.
sentences.
That's when you always had to like sit there and kind of put layers on.
Yes,
if you
sir.
knew you was gonna get an ass whooping.
sir.
But for some reason they always got the face. I'm like, how do you block the face? Wear a helmet. But it was those instances where it was like, what? Let me try to like break that cycle. Raising my own kids.
For sure.
I'm not gonna say they didn't get their ass whooped too, but it wasn't as strong it was when my dad did it. Of
course.
Right.
Now we had the timeouts. Now we had to face the walls. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah, that's not effective, bro.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I always say this generation is soft because they were raised like that.
Right.
But I think our generation that was raised with the iron fist has more respect and hopefully can get out of that mantra of having to do that in a Polynesian household.
Yeah, honestly.
And I think with mental health is important because these kids go through those things and don't have an out.
Right.
And I think avenues like podcasts like yourselves, podcasts like mine as well, giving these people those chances to kind of say, okay, well, Cisco kind of grew up getting his ass whooped, but this is what he did.
For sure.
Not just me, maybe any of us. And anyone
sure.
that, especially artists, because they're looking up to these artists, they're looking up to these figures
Yeah.
where if we tell our stories, they're like, okay, it's okay to tell our story.
Yeah.
And we're really, back in the day, we couldn't tell our stories.
Straight up.
So I
didn't
think
have the
that,
platform.
Exactly. We didn't have the platform. They probably was there, but with not the accessibility we have now.
True.
Absolutely.
And I love that about what we have.
Yeah.
Man,
fact.
as long as you got a phone, you got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
exactly.
It's straight up. It's right there. So It's just for them to kind of activate that in themselves to get up on there.
And you know, these phones turn kids into entrepreneurs now.
Yeah, man.
You know, they could
Look at Bronny. Bronny made multi-million-dollar deal just playing video games.
And we didn't have those resources.
Yeah.
You know, we maybe had like a flip phone or whatever it was, but it's good to see people using those avenues. Like, you know, YouTube. You can do so much.
Yep.
I learned so much off YouTube.
YouTube University.
I learned more from YouTube than I did in school, and I'll be honest.
Right.
Straight up.
Facts.
I've taught myself to say, okay, if I don't know how to do something, let me just look it up. How do I do this?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they'll have like 30 videos of how to do it. And those are the resources I'm talking about with mental health. Like if someone says, okay, I'm going to get my ass whooped, kind of how do I do that?
Right.
You kind of go to YouTube, you know, who had child abuse or who grew up, and those will pop up.
For sure.
And you can use those for reference. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you do say, like, with this day and age, social media can be very dangerous. But like you said, as a resource, it's undefeated. Because with us, I mean, we really wanted to get into podcasting, but it didn't really start taking off until we started utilizing social media to reach out to people like you, reach out to Ray Sefo, to reach out to some of these other people, like-minded people, to keep you in that same that good circle. That's something that taught to us since we were young. It's all about the people that you keep around you. Where when you hang around 9 hoodlums, you can become the 10th.
And what's crazy about social media is that Polynesians have an ego problem. I'm not going to ask him, you know, because
it's in the church.
Exactly. So I think now people are kind of like they're dropping their ego. Where I always say it all the time with social media, it can benefit you, it can kill you,
yes sir,
and it can also hurt you, but it can also help you.
Right.
It's just a way to do it because people sometimes use social media for drama, relationship problems, all that stuff like that too. People use it for instant gratification and do that as well. The likes.
Yep.
If I don't get enough likes, you know, girls put up pictures. If they'll delete it. Yeah. That's just their self, you know, their self control with that. They have their self esteem. But
I was like that.
Yeah. But I think definitely kids nowadays, if you use social media the right way, it could be so beneficial to your brands, to your business, and just you know, you don't want to. Polynesians have a stigma; they don't want to look stupid to their family. But now you got all these TikToks and all these things like you don't want to look stupid, but your ass looks stupid.
Right. You over here doing all these damn dances, you can't even remember your scriptures.
Yeah, absolutely. So it definitely could be used as a tool that could benefit your brand.
For sure.
Ain't it wild, kind of like how some artists come out, like poly artists, and they say certain stuff in their songs. I think to myself, damn, what is their parents think?
I know.
It's crazy because a lot of these artists now that I deal with, I listen to their music all the time, and it's like, I don't think we could have got away with some of the things. You know, when I listen to it, they're not going to say, oh, it's the cool thing to listen to now.
Right.
It's the way the portrayal. Like, I think something that we do keep in our Polynesian community is that we don't do, I mean, I don't say no people do OnlyFans or no people do like bad shit. They'll do it, but they won't broadcast it like how everybody else does.
You know
what I mean? And that's like, you know, and it's like bad mojo for us.
You're going to do something to be 110% all the way in.
Yeah.
1000%.
You know what I mean? Just be all the way in, especially if you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. But that's to each their own, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're going to get your bag, and that's how you're going to get your bag, get your bag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's all bad.
Well, not to skip this conversation, but I want to go back to the original. So you were touching on some of the earlier influences that you did have. Who were your major ones for you personally that made you become a DJ and want to progress your game in the DJ game?
There it is.
Man.
Who was my main influence? I think out of not just the music was my mom. My mom was a huge influence because I hated to see her cry. Right. So I hated my mom to be sad. Right. So I wanted to say, Mom, what makes you happy? She's like, hey, whatever makes you happy, you know, that makes me happy.
See, that's cool.
So I'm like, okay, that influenced me to kind of say, okay, go get it. You know what I mean? So go see who the best DJs are in your area. Go to their parties and kind of see what they do. So I did that. I went to go see My Emotion do a party in San Francisco, and I just sat there and just kind of was a student of the game. And just kind of said, okay, he's rocking this crowd. What songs did he play? What did he say on the mic? You know what I mean? And I'll take little by little from each DJ. Then you come to Shortcut and all these other Bay Area DJs that were, you know, huge influence. Chewy Gomez in the Bay Area. He was on the radio. And I say, man, he has a huge influence on how he talks to people. So I'm like, okay, he's always crisp with his words. I got to talk clear. I got to make sure that it's not, hey, you know, it's not all us, where you kind of just said everything. And it was like, man, he talks pretty good for himself. So I just said, I took little by little from everybody and kind of put it to my own way of doing everything. And just doing it. But my main influence was always my mom and my dad. My dad, you not that you
things.
hold a grudge, but you wanted to kind of show him,
Of
you know,
course.
that I made it. You know what I mean?
Because he set the bar.
He set the
as a
bar
man.
because, you know, Samoan dads that I can speak of, they set the bar so high where
Yeah.
my dad didn't want me to play football.
Right.
And I'm like, why wouldn't he want me to play football? I'm over 6 foot. You know, I'm pretty athletic. I mean, everyone's going to laugh at that part. But he didn't want me to play football.
Right.
And he was like, nah, get a job. And that was
Right.
like the stigma, get a good job.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah. For at an early age, I didn't want to work a 9 to 5.
Yeah, man.
And I was like,
understand.
but I did, you know what I mean? I did the working at Subways and working at these, you know, where you have to work now. But I didn't
Could you
wanna,
imagine walking in Subway seeing this dude on the guy there?
Are we doing a foot long or a 12? Man? What are we doing? But I wanted to prove my dad wrong. And it's crazy because the first time I proved my dad wrong was playing video games.
Right.
And my dad said, stop playing that damn video game. You're never going to get paid for it.
Right.
Just to prove my dad wrong, I looked up video game jobs.
Oh,
and I got an interview at PlayStation and EA Sports in the Bay Area.
Let's go.
So I worked at PlayStation for like maybe 5-6 years. So I went to my dad and my dad said, dude, stop playing those games. I said, Dad, I make money playing these games.
Right,
He was
right.
like, what? And you know, in Samoa, so when you show up Pops, that ass whooping is worse than the one that you got before that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Don't think you're bad. Don't think you know it all. So I got my ass whooped again. Sorry, Pop. But it just goes to show I wanted to prove my dad wrong to say,
course.
use your resources.
Right.
He says I can't play video games. Video game jobs.
Smart.
You know what I mean? I looked it up. Oh,
Smart.
PlayStation's in Foster City. It's in the Bay Area.
Right.
EA Sports is in the Bay Area. So I went there. I bullshitted through the interviews and made my way. You know, so how long you been a gamer? I ain't got no money for no video games. I had one game, Madden. That's all I played was Madden.
Facts.
But I went in there, was like, oh, well, you know, I've been a connoisseur of video. I know how to talk my way through a room.
Yes, sir.
And got in and I worked at PlayStation as a game tester. And I tested all the games. And it's crazy. If you look at a few of the games, my name is in there as a QA analyst. Like the Godfather game on EA Sports, it'll have my name there as a quality assurance. So,
Hey, man,
and I just
I'm
did
gonna
that to
look
prove a
up
point.
There,
You know?
man. I'm gonna look that up. That's what's up, man.
Because I told them, I was like, hey, if we do this as our name in the game, they're like, yeah, if you work on it, you know, enough hours. So I was like, dude, I got to get my name in the game.
Hell yeah.
So the Godfather game that came out for EA Sports, and I said, hey, how many hours I got to work on this? Is, oh, you got to do like 30. So I worked just to get my name up
Hell
there.
yeah.
Just to kind of have somebody say, hey, when you finish the game, my name, you've seen it up
Yes,
there.
sir. Mm-hmm.
So, and I did that. And I kind of told my dad, I was like, look, I said, my name's on the game. He was like, you paid somebody to do it. You know what I mean? So it was like, I know I didn't get his approval, but I got his approval.
course,
You know what I mean?
of
So,
course.
and that's just something I did growing up because I wanted my dad. You know, even when I do shows today, like my dad's a huge Fiji fan.
Damn.
And he lives in Utah, so Fiji was like, bro, come do my show in Utah.
Right.
So I did a show in Utah. I said, Dad, come with us to the show. He was like, who? My dad doesn't want to go out. He's, you know.
Yeah.
So I brought him to the thing and I took him to Fiji to meet him. And my dad was like, damn, you work with him like that? And I said, Dad, I work with him. I work with J Boog. And
Yes,
my dad
sir.
loves these songs.
Yes, sir.
And he's like, that's crazy. And I was like, yeah. And so that was like a proud moment for me.
Yeah, that's when
To
the
say,
love
look,
started
Pop,
pouring in.
that's what I'm doing for a living. He was like, okay, you go. So when I go to New Zealand and Australia, I said, Dad, I'll call him from there. Where you at right now? You know, he thinks I'm in the living room all the time. You know, when you talk to your parents, they always think you're accessible to them. Like, hey, go clean the bathroom. Nah, I live my whole life.
Right.
So I call my dad from when I'm in these different countries, and I said, Dad, I'm in the Cook Islands right now. What? And my first time going to Samoa was to do a show with Fiji, was for Blue Sky. I've never been to Samoa. Me and all my brothers never been to Samoa. And I went to Samoa where my dad grew up. And kind of went through his whole, you know, and my other brother that lived out there was there. And I called my dad. I was like, hey, I'm at Grandpa's, gravesite.
Yes,
you know.
sir.
And he was like, wait, you're over there right now? And that alone was kind of like, it came full circle for
Yes,
me. You know what I
sir.
mean?
Yes,
and my
sir.
dad was crying. He was like, oh, you got to go
I bet.
here. You know what I mean? I'm like,
man.
and my mom was like, oh, what did you tell him? He's crying in the room. And I'm like, nah, I told him I'm in Samoa. She's like, what are you doing in Samoa? And just my whole thing is to make my parents proud.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
Because if I can make them proud, everybody else will fall into place.
Of course.
I don't do it for that girl at the club. I don't do it for
Right.
these guys over here that say I ain't
Straight
shit. I do it for my parents because once I see that smile on, and I'm fortunate to still have my parents here.
Yes,
Not a
sir.
lot of us do.
Yeah.
But to have my parents still here, and I want to make them happy every day.
Of course.
So when I do a show, Dad, I just did the show with 20,000 people. What? You know, and then I brought my mom on stage for her birthday one time in the Bay Area with Island Reggae Festival. Brought her out for her birthday. She was like, I almost pissed myself, you know, because there's so many people. And she was like, you do this, you know, and I'm like, Mom, I just want to show you what I
that's
do.
what's up.
So it's just something to give back to my parents to keep, you know, when she sees the podcast, she's my biggest fan.
Man, I bet.
She's
Oh,
my
I
biggest
bet.
fan, and my sister's my biggest critic.
Yo.
She's like, oh, you can see your legs
always
and the
is.
thing. I was like,
Right,
wait, you
right,
can see
right.
my legs and the shit. But my mom would say, oh, I love the interview with Konishki. I love the interview
Yeah.
with Fiji. And, you know, just to kind of give that back. My dad goes, how do you know these guys? These are people and I just told them, I said they're a fan in what I do, and it just goes full circle. So it's definitely a blessing.
Big
Awesome.
inspo.
Yeah.
Big
That's
inspo. For those that are looking to follow in your footsteps, how does one become a DJ?
Love music.
Yes, sir.
The equipment will come and go.
Right.
If you don't love music, there's no point of being a DJ.
Of course.
I loved music to the point where I couldn't afford the DJ equipment, but I loved eras. I loved the soul era with Marvin Gaye and what my parents grew up on.
Right.
And I wasn't a big island reggae or reggae fan, but I grew to love it because I started getting friends like J Bug and Feej and started to see their craft.
Right.
And started to get into it. So as a DJ, I said, okay, what if I take this song and put it with this song? Then you start getting into the blending of it.
Right.
Like I said, I'll leave the turntablism to the real DJs, but I could blend some songs.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So I could play this song will go together. I know these songs. So if you're a DJ, just know what songs blend with each other. Know what songs make sense.
For sure.
You can't go from one song and then hood red, hoochie mama. Like, wait, that didn't make sense.
Right.
So and you gotta read a crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate because I'll go to some of these clubs and I'll see if the DJ can read the crowd. He'll look at the crowd, he'll panic, and he'll play like the hottest songs. And I'm like, oh, it's only 10 o'clock. But because you hit that panic button, if he just kind of like guided his way in there, see what I always do when I do functions, I'll look at a certain part. And I'll see if I can make them dance, everybody in the room will dance.
Right.
So if I do like family functions, I'll look at the table where my black aunts are at. Where my black aunties at? Oh, they over there. If I can make them dance, everybody will dance.
Yeah, that's facts.
So you got to read a room. You got to know music too if you're going to
for
be a DJ. You can say, "Oh, I got all this equipment." Like, yeah, the equipment's one thing, but if you don't have a love for the music and don't know music, it's gonna sound stuped.
Yeah, of course.
And it's gonna sound like you're just blending J Bug with a Ply song or something like that too. Where I kind of coined my thing, feel good music.
Yeah.
Where it's music that makes you feel good. It could be anything from island reggae to hip hop to R&B to soul. So I've always coined that when I started my whole branding was I'm the king of feel good music because I knew music.
Yes, sir.
And I'm still not the best DJ, but put me in front of the crowd and I'm a vibe creator.
Yes, sir.
So I don't ever say, "Oh, I'm a disc jockey." I remember those days because I used to help DJs carry their crates to their gigs.
Of
And
course.
I was like, "Hey, you do all this stuff." So now we have Serato where everything's in your laptop now, where it's easier, but still doesn't mean you're a good DJ.
Yeah, of course.
If you can't put a bunch of songs together that's going to make this crowd go crazy, what are you doing it for?
Yeah, of course.
So my advice is to be a music lover. Know your music, know your roots of the music. If you're an R&B fan, know where the R&B came from.
Yeah.
Know early R&B. You know what I mean? If you're a pop DJ, do your homework. If you don't study the legends, you don't study the people that made it in this industry, what are you doing it for?
Right, of course. Student of the game. That's the key thing.
Definitely be a student of the game. And this generation they want to go straight to it. They want to skip all the hard work.
Yeah.
They want to skip the research they got to do. They want to skip, kind of. I'll sit there and tell God.
I know, right? God.
But do your research. Always study. Always study the greats.
For sure. You've been talking about so many. You've been name dropping so many people. Who is the most notable performer that you've ever worked with?
Oh man, it's a lot. From Bruno Mars. Bruno. We did
the one in Hawaii.
We did Aloha Stadium.
Man,
we did
I saw that video, man. That looked amazing.
And we're fans. We're fans before we are work. What we do for our work. So when they said, "Hey, you want to do this show for Bruno?" It was Bruno Mars's homecoming at Aloha Stadium.
Right.
First show in Hawaii.
Yes, sir.
And I was like, yeah, I'm down to do it. So myself, Mustafa, we were at the conference. We did it with Comic Kings.
Yes, sir.
Comic Kings opened one night and the Green did one night, but I was on the mic.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to see a stadium.
Man.
We're talking about Aloha Stadium.
Yep.
And this is Bruno Mars's homecoming.
Packed.
And I'm just thinking, and Bruno Mars came to our green room, had a bottle of 1942 tequila. He was like, "Hey, this is for us. Let's take a shot before we all go on stage."
Hell
and I'm like, wow, I'm taking a shot with Bruno Mars, one of the most prestigious entertainers of our time.
Sir.
And then it goes over to Usher. I'm working with Usher.
Cool.
In the same stadium, Aloha Stadium. It's Cardi B, Usher, us. I'm like, what the hell are we doing on this bill? It was Dream Weekend. And we just did it, and it's just to work with these artists now. It's just like, man, I went from a fan to working with these guys, and it's crazy because you sit there and I treat them how I don't fan out when I see them.
Right.
So whether it be an athlete, whether it be a singer, whether it be a celebrity, I always told myself, act right.
Yeah, of course.
Act like they're one of us. But inside, I'm going crazy.
Of course.
Inside, I'm fangirling out. But when I see them, I treat them with the respect,
Of course.
and they love that.
Well,
So-
with your size, you probably would have intimidated. Wasn't there, Bruno?
it's
we over here see Cisco.
because they hate the dude that wants to take a picture, or they hate
Yeah.
and I'm not saying don't do it, because of course moments, you want to get those moments. Of
course.
But those will
I
come.
always,
They'll come.
they'll come if you do it the right way.
Right.
So when we were kicking into these artists, we're taking a shot with Bruno Mars. I just told everybody, nobody ask for a picture.
Yeah,
Like, nah, we have to do it. So I let him do it. So we're all taking a shot. Bruno's like, let's take a picture.
Smart.
Boom.
Yep.
So we're sitting there, and then Boog's in there. J Boog comes in there. So we're all it's J Boog, Comic Kings, and we're all just chilling there, like, dude, this is crazy. But it's just because we're just putting our head down to the turf and doing what we do, and all these opportunities will come.
Right.
So those are one of the biggest ones so far that we've done. I don't try to like cut it off, because I know there's still more to be done.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
I
I mean,
love that.
just the name dropping of J Book and the Green getting all shy around Bruno, man, that's crazy.
Bro.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because Bruno, that was huge for him going back to Hawaii. He started there.
Yeah.
His family kind of started, and it was kind of like, oh, Bruno forgot about Hawaii.
Yeah.
So for him to kind of come back home and do that, it was a big deal.
Right.
Because there were some Hawaiians that were mad at him. There were
Yeah.
some people that was accepting him. There was some, he didn't know what the response was going to be.
Of course.
But he
Oh,
sold out a
right.
Lost Stadium 2 days in a row.
Right.
Come
Oh.
on. So
I saw back in I think it was 2010. He was doing like a couple car commercials, and he had the whole Connect accident and everything. Boy, he puts on for our people, man. Y'all gotta stop hating, bro.
hey, and shout out to Yossi and a lot of the singers that you guys fit. They were with Bruno in the early years. So
Really?
and he didn't forget about him too, to a point where if I'm Bruno, you can't take everybody with you.
Yeah.
You know what I
Straight
mean?
up.
But you
Yeah.
can still put on for them, and then later on down the line, maybe pass across. But some people want it sooner than others, and
Facts.
some people don't, and that's when you get into that whole stigma.
Facts. And see, that's one of the main things that I always say is as Polynesians, we want to carry everybody to make everybody eat. But for us, we go to the buffet when we go
Yeah.
eat. So I'm gonna make this buffet, and you come make your own plate.
Yeah.
You can't just feed off of my plate. You got to come
Absolutely,
and make
man.
your own plate.
Straight up.
So yeah.
We're in a demographic, and then some Polynesians hate me for saying this, but we come in one of the most critical demographics ever. In order to sit there and please Polynesians, you got to do a lot.
Yeah.
You got to be on your toes. You can't say certain things. You can't do certain things, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But I've always as long as my mom and dad's cool with it, I don't give a shit about it.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So, and it sucks because people get put under a microscope so much in our demographic, in our Polynesian demographic. If we don't say a certain Samoan word right, if we don't say a last name right,
Right.
Tongan, Samoan, any Polynesians, you get put under the microscope.
Straight
And a lot of people kind of look to that, be like, oh, I messed up. Like, nah, you did what you were doing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of course.
And I feel like I've been in this industry so long where I don't care who talks shit about me. I'll have my podcast. I'll put it up like, oh, Cisco always talks over his guests. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but that's what I do.
Yeah, of
But I'm not
course.
gonna let that comment kind of deter me.
For
I
sure.
know it's there.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's like, look, if the guests, I don't got to explain myself, but it's like when you see those, it kind of says there's always going to be a hater. It don't care
course.
how good you're doing.
Please
Somebody
everybody.
always going to say something
Yes, sir.
and always have something to say about
Yes,
it.
sir. And that's the thing, though. As much as you want to hate, I'm getting the most views because of your hate. You tuning into my thing more than the people that love me.
That's what I told him. I said, hey, look, get your own podcast. You can do whatever you want. I
Right,
said, thank you for watching.
Facts. And see, the way that we grew up, man, we grew up roasting.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting one negative comment. Bring it on, bro. Bring it on. I'm
Because
flame
we're so
your ass.
used to just be like, hey, you talk shit to
Yeah.
me. I'm that's my natural reaction.
Yes, sir. Yes,
but
sir.
now when you get into the industry, you kind of got to hold it
Yeah.
back a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's
So
true.
where I can still talk shit, like where it's kind of I can talk shit cleverly,
Yeah.
and kind of do slight shots at them.
Right.
I'd be like, oh, what podcast you got? Yeah, I didn't think so. Shut the fuck up.
Right, that part.
Let's go.
Well, do you have a wish list of people that you are looking forward to working with in the future?
You know what? My wish list goes deep because, like I said, I've been fortunate to get a lot of the Polynesian guests.
Yes, sir.
Talanoa Hufanga,
Yes,
Fiji.
sir.
But I've always wanted to say, it's not that it's talking bad again because people will take this the wrong way. It's not a Polynesian podcast.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean
It's the
because I
Western
don't have a
culture.
Polynesian.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is, so I've done Welcome to Jamrock Cruise.
Yes, sir.
So I did some greats. I've had
Yes,
Kabaka
sir.
Pyramid, who just won a Grammy for Best Reggae Album. I had him on there. But I don't get the numbers that I have for those artists
Of course.
that I have for a Polynesian artist, which is
course.
cool.
Yeah.
But you guys don't know the severity of these guests that I have. Ivy she's a Grammy nominated,
Yeah,
So
1000%.
it's just crazy that people will always pigeonhole you because I'm Samoan. I have to have a Polynesian
Yeah.
podcast
Yeah.
because you're Polynesian. Oh, you only have Samoan guests. Or I'm like, nah. But my guest list, it can bribe from everywhere. It's like I said, to have people like Marshawn Lynch, that's a friend, to have people that's all over the industry where it's not just artists, it's not just athletes, where I want entrepreneurs, I want brand owners, because I want them to tell them how their story, because there's a brand over there that needs kind of some direction. So I have a brand owner, but people are like, who is that? Where's the guest that we want?
Of course.
If you cater to those people talking about who they want, you'll never be who you stay true to yourself.
Right.
So I always want the entrepreneurs. I always want the people that's hungry. That's why when you had reached out, of course I'll do your podcast. I didn't want to. So who am I to say no to an opportunity like this?
For sure.
Because you guys are doing your thing. Why wouldn't I want to be a part of what you guys are doing? Because it just goes back to like, who else is doing this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who else is going to sit there and say, oh, we did this podcast. Oh, we had Cisco on there, but he was talking shit. That's cool. But I'm sitting, if I can help you with my demographic, if I can help you cross promote, and like when this comes out and I put it on my platform, people, I hope some people that never seen this say, oh shit, I'm gonna go check out what else they got going on.
Man.
There's enough for everybody out there. I think a lot of people's like, oh, they try to keep everything secluded. Oh, nah. If I give away too much game, they're gonna get one up on me. There's no me. There's no you. There's nobody doing what you guys are doing, which there probably is, but they're not doing it the way you guys do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're not doing it the way I do it.
Right.
So that's why anybody that says, they kind of be intimidated. Oh, Cisco's not going to say yeah. You won't know if you don't ask. You ask.
Exactly.
And if you don't ask, the worst they could say is what? No.
Yeah.
And if they say no, man, by all means, keep doing what you're doing. My bad. I stepped out of my,
Right.
But I always ask. So now I'm sitting there asking people that I would never ask because of the machismo, because of the pride. I'll sit there and ask. The worst thing to do is either leave me on red or not even be able to see it. But at least I knew I threw that DM out there.
Right.
At least I knew I threw that message out there to kind of at least kind of say, hey, I got this podcast, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
You'd be surprised whose fans. Like when Konishiki flew from Japan just to do my thing because he was doing. He's like, bro, I'm a huge fan of anything, and he's a legendary sumo wrestler. I'm talking about. He didn't need to do my podcast,
Of course.
but he was like, bro, I seen the one with Fiji on there. I'm a fan.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, wow. So Rikishi, who's a WWE legend, he hit me, was like, hey, Nev, I got it. Because my mom used to babysit Rikishi, the wrestler. So he was like, bro, I'm going to do your thing soon. So we have the resources.
Bro.
If you start off on a podcast, use your resources first.
Of course.
As you guys can see through my guest list, it's all people that I work with.
Yes, sir.
Boog, Fiji, Comic
sir.
Kings. Hey, come do this
Big
podcast
names.
that me and Westafa was doing. So once we do that, once we go through our talent pool of people we know, then we start getting the others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see that's the biggest thing too, is like when you had reached out, man, you don't know how excited I was, man. I blew up my brother. I'm like, hey, Big Body said he gonna come on, man. We in there. But for me,
Because I was y'all. I was y'all.
man.
So that's why I was like, if for me to say yeah to y'all, I would want somebody to say yeah to me because I did that.
Yes, sir.
But when I seen what you were doing, of course I go see, okay, well, let me see what they got going on.
Right.
Oh shit, you at the dispensary. So you never think you're bigger than anybody.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that I'm blessed to have in our Polynesian culture. We have our moments, but always stay humble.
Of course.
Because you never know when that can be your last humble moment where you're thinking you the shit, and then you're like, oh, then you ain't shit.
Right.
So that's why, there's people that say, hey, can you come talk at our school about like, for real, I feel like I'm worthy of doing that.
Right.
Yeah, they always want to talk about your success. I'm like, I still got some bills to pay. I don't know how successful I can be, but and I'll go and I'll just talk about what I know.
Right.
I never step out of my box or step out of my element where I don't know what I'm talking about.
For sure.
Everything that I talk about, I've lived it.
Right.
I've been through those experiences. It's when you start getting outside of it and try to talk about things that are gonna come that hasn't happened yet. That's when you get caught behind the 8 ball.
Of course.
So that's why I always talk about stuff that we did. You coming up and saying, hey, you think you'd be a guest on? Absolutely. Let me know when it is. You know what I mean? So, and that's with anybody watching this.
Yes,
if you
sir.
have a
For real.
podcast and you want to start something, you'd be surprised who say yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna know unless you ask.
Right. And see, for me, like the same thing you were saying about your dad, like you didn't get his approval right away, so you knew you had to work.
Yeah.
For me, is man, I wish somebody would tell me no, because that's cool. I'm not even gonna be mad about it. That makes me want to grind more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grind my ass out to make sure
trust
that
me.
you're gonna come and tell me.
Everybody didn't say yeah to me either.
You're right.
So even from what I do, I've hit a lot of no's, but the ones that do say yeah, they're more organic.
Right. Of
They're more
course.
personable, So I have a little bit better story because those who didn't say no, all right, cool.
Right.
I'll see them down the line. Trust me, I got my list.
right.
But it just humbles me in okay, maybe they're busy. We don't know what everybody's story is.
Course.
Too. We don't know if this person may be going through something at the moment, and I asked them at the worst time.
Right.
So you
that's
always
right.
have to keep that in mind too, because you don't know. Life is life.
Yeah.
We can all sit here and talk about our wins, but there's a lot of losses that we don't publicize.
Right.
Right.
1000%.
I got a question for you. So like I could tell from being a DJ, being a host, a lot of it is your personality.
Yeah.
With nowadays like cancel culture and things like that, do you ever feel like scaling it back, or you got to be yourself 100%?
If you're
Yeah,
not
that's a good
yourself,
question.
you look fake.
Right,
sir.
right.
I think people know my personality, so it's a more genuine to everybody.
Yes, sir.
That's how Cisco was
Yeah.
in high school. That's how Cisco was in
Yep.
college, where they were like, I knew you talking shit at the club was going to get you somewhere. Because that's how it was. I was talking shit on the mic.
Right.
And that got me to where I was doing. But when they go to a show, I'm still talking shit.
Of course.
If I'm
Of
still,
course.
so your personality can take you, but if it's a forced personality that's going to
Yeah.
draw you back.
Of course.
It's when you start doing the fake shit.
Right.
When you start doing the fake shit,
The clout
that's when it's
chasing.
like, he's trying to be somebody he's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm always going to stay genuine to who I am.
Right.
And I tell everybody that, don't try to be like me. Don't
Right.
try to
Yeah.
be you.
Right.
As soon as you be you and you find your identity, you can go a long way with it. Because
Exactly.
in this business, you don't got to be nobody else.
Yeah, man.
I can sit there all day and be like, you know what? I can do that, but you can't do it. I mean, you're doing it, but you won't do it like I would do it.
Right, of course.
Absolutely.
That's not being cocky. That's being confident in what I'm doing.
Of course.
Yes.
And that's where it gets lost in translation because people are like, oh, Cisco thinks he's all that. Nah, I'm confident in what I do for a
Right.
living. I know I can go to a crowd of 20,000 people and still rock that.
That part.
And I know if I go to concerts and they're like, oh man, Cisco, how come you're not up there? This dude's whack.
Yeah.
Nah, he's up there.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I wasn't booked for this, but who's up there? Don't hate on that dude. Of course, I'll sit there and be like, okay, he could have did this, he could have did that. But I'm not going to sit there and glamorize that.
Yeah.
Hey, he should have did this.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
I look whack.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I look like a hater.
Right.
But when they don't hire you for a show, I go to the shows kind of like say, you should have hired me.
Yeah, of
should,
course.
yeah.
Of course.
But not going there to guy say, see? But I'm going there because I want to see who the next guy is that
Yeah.
does what I do.
Yeah.
Hey, when he comes up to me, hey, bro, what could I have done better? And I tell him, hey, you could have did this, but you could have played, a factor in that too.
For sure.
What I've been
Guidance.
fortunate
That's
to
love.
have is found Mustafa. Shout out my brother Mustafa.
Yeah, we got to have him on the pod
Yeah,
too.
man, shout out my brother Mustafa, where it was crazy, where he was DJing. He knew what I like to play music-wise.
Right.
We did a show on a fluke, and we was like saying, hey, Cisco, you ever work with Mustafa? Nah, hey, what's up, Wes? We kind of like got to know each other. He knew my steez. I was all about the Bay Area.
Of
He was
course.
all about
Of
Southern
course.
California.
Yes, sir.
So I said, hey, look, we can kind of play this off of each other. When I go out there, I'm gonna say, hey, I represent the Bay. Play some Bay songs. You can say you represent the, LA and stuff.
Yes,
Play
sir.
some. So it worked.
Right.
My manager at the time, we were doing Rugby 7 shows.
Okay.
And he said, look, my manager said, hey, if you and Wes get together, Western Conference. He came up with the name. Shout out Brand One. He was like, because you guys are both represent California.
Yes, sir.
He's represent Southern California, you represent Northern California.
Yes, sir.
You guys, he's Mustafa, you're Cisco, so Western Conference, the W and the C.
Fire.
So it was kind of
Fire.
crazy how that came about. And we did that for the Rugby Sevens. We made a mixtape. We had the
The ones out here?
Yeah, the ones out here.
Fire,
So
dog.
we were doing all these parties, and we were in high demand.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was cool to get an MC and a DJ, but if you got somebody that knew what they were doing,
Right.
we wanted to make sure every promoter knew who we were.
Yes, sir.
Hey, who are you guys? Are a DJ and MC? Nah, we're an act.
Yeah.
We're like one of the so we're direct support for the main act.
Right.
So when people hire us, me and Mustafa are direct support to the Comic Kings. We're direct support. So we're the ones that come out before Boog. We're the
Yeah.
one that comes out before
yeah,
Comic
of
Kings.
course. The hype
So
man.
we're not just the guy that's opening up the night. Hey,
Yeah.
but we're the guys that say, hey, when we go to a festival, we're the direct support.
Damn,
so
that's
stop treating us like we're a DJ and an MC. No disrespect to that. We always say we an act.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
sir.
treat us how you treat the artist, because every artist that we've worked with, that you talk to, the energy that we bring, and when they come on stage, they're ready to go.
It's going to emulate.
Absolutely.
But if they do shows without us, it says it takes them 3 to 4 songs to get the energy right. So I'm just saying, hey, you're doing your crowd a disservice if you don't have us doing that. Because, and I don't say no one's doing what we're doing. We just do it to where we do Cali Roots Festival, we do Island Reggae Festival, all these festivals that we do. The energy that we bring, it takes an artist a couple songs to get to that level.
Right,
But if we
right.
already got them going, and then the artist comes out, they're ready to go.
Hype. Yeah.
So, and that's just something we took pride in to say, when we sit there and we kind of like strategize, hey, we're in Seattle. Let's
Right.
play a couple of hot Seattle songs. Let's play, so we're not just going to sit there and do the same thing over and over again.
Right.
We'll have our elements.
Of course.
But we're going to sit there, and if we go to, we're out of the country, what are the hottest songs in this country right now? What are the hottest songs? So we do our research.
Smart.
And I think a lot of these people don't do that. They just kind of go with what they've been doing.
Right.
But what's going to work there won't work here.
Of course.
So
Of
shout out my
course.
brother Mustafa, man.
Man, that's love, bro.
Man.
As an OG in this game, you've seen a lot of people, especially in the DJ game and the MC game, hosting or artists.
Yeah.
What are some common mistakes that you've seen previous artists make that you would steer the new generation away from?
I was still the new generation where I don't mind that you think you're the shit.
Yeah.
You're supposed to think you're the shit.
Of course.
But when you're thinking you're the shit and you don't have anything to back it up,
Right.
then you're not really the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this generation, I get that this Instagram, you can have 1 million TikTok followers.
Yeah.
But when you get in front of a crowd, are you able to get that same reaction from your TikTok followers that you are in a crowd?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
Most likely
Because
not.
you're behind your camera. So I just tell people, like, don't try to be bigger than what you are.
Of course.
Especially artists.
Yes, sir.
Artists, I love you guys. I love you. This is the hottest song out. Probably to me, I'm so honest with people. They'll say, "Sis, this is the hottest song out." I'll listen to it. It's not for me.
Right.
Right.
It's not to me.
Right.
But if they have something, so these rappers come all the time and they're always talking about drugs, killing, and gangs and all this stuff. I was like, bro, I'm not gonna play it on my show.
Yeah.
Why you hating on us? I'm not hating. That's just not what I support.
Of
Right.
course.
I support feel good music.
Right.
There's a handful of artists when I tell them, hey, talk about partying, talking about making money the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talk about legitimately. So there's a few artists, and shout them out who do it, who adapt and adjust to kind
Yeah.
of say, all right, Cisco, this is the one. This is the feel good music one.
Right.
I'll listen to it. I'll blow it up like it's the hottest shit out there.
For sure.
But I'm not gonna play some gang stuff, you know. And there's some dope rappers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out the rappers that are doing it, and they're still in that, that area. It's not my place to say, hey, don't
Right.
do this gang shit, don't do that. But if you want to play it on my show,
Yeah.
it has to feel good.
Yeah.
I don't feel good shooting somebody. I don't feel good.
Right,
So
right.
to each his own. And I just think, for all these artists out there, if you want to be on somebody's show, kind of see what the show is about first.
Of course.
Do your homework about the show.
Yep.
I can't sit there and talk about, I'm killing all these people. Oh, Cisco, play this on your feel good music show. Listen to what you just said. You're just talking about killing motherfuckers, but you want me to play it on my feel good music show?
Right.
So that's why I have an Island Vibe show. I have a Love Jones show. So there's different shows that I have.
Yep.
If you got a slow
To cater
song,
to different
if
people.
you're an R&B artist, I'm gonna play it on my Love Jones show.
Right.
If you have an artist that you have an island, hey, this is a hot island reggae song, I'm gonna play it on my Island Vibe show.
Yes, sir.
I try to give them avenues, but I haven't got the avenue to say, oh, this is my gangster show. You know what I mean?
right,
But I always want to give those artists a platform. So I am thinking about doing something where on Twitch, because I see all the people on Twitch are kind of giving a day to these new artists. Say, hey, let my audience kind of say, hey, is this whack or not?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they get mad. Oh, they're being haters. You wanted this.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
So-
And to be honest, some of those DJs, man, they be getting all the love, man, all the love.
And it's
Look at Nappy
crazy.
Boy Radio.
Yeah.
Nappy
So
Boy
and shout out
T-Pain.
Etu too when he went on
Etu,
T-Pain.
bruh, man.
So I remember Etu when he was Eddie Dino. If you watch
Yeah,
him on,
same thing.
but I remember he was a kid from EPA, but
sir.
now he's a signed artist with T-Pain.
Yeah.
And it just goes back to where he was watching on Twitch, submitted his songs on Twitch. So people are trying to tell me, hey, do that for the younger artists. And I'm just like, I can do it, but this artist might not get along with this artist, and I'm going to play him back to back. It's just, there's politics in a lot of stuff that we do too. We don't talk about it, but there's definitely street politics. There's definitely politics to everything that everyone does.
Especially in the Bay, man. There's
Yeah.
so many damn hoods,
yeah.
man. I went out there, and I got to tell you, Cisco, man. We went out there in June for my parents' anniversary. It was the absolute worst. It was the I thought we were coming from, I was in college over at Mount Sac for a
Yeah.
while. And then I had my shorts, I had a tank top. I was looking right. Went out there, it was like 32 degrees. I'm like, God damn. I hate
It's
it.
crazy. Like the Bay Area has their culture.
Yeah.
Southern California has the LA culture, the gang culture. Everyone has their culture. It's just you got to move. You got to know how to move into it.
Right.
How I adapt is that I know a lot of these. I grew up in Long Beach before I moved to the Bay, so
Right.
I have a lot of family that is in the gangs.
Yes, sir.
But it doesn't mean I got to glamorize it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I love my family.
Of course.
I love my family that's in it, and I kind of adapted to the Bay Area culture too. The hyphy movement. I was a part of the hyphy movement.
Mm-hmm. Hey, yes,
now
sir.
when you have the newer artists like P-Lo and the Larry June stuff
Yes,
like that,
sir.
you got to adapt.
Right.
If you're just gonna sit there keep playing the old Bay Area stuff, you're gonna be that old DJ.
Yeah.
If you don't adapt to what's hot right now, you have the Larry Junes. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he spawned from RBL
Yeah.
from San Francisco. So you kind of got to do your homework. That's all everyone doing their homework. Especially for these older DJs that want to stay relevant. You got to be relevant and kind of adapt to your situations.
Yeah. And if your music is being played at every family reunion, you already passed your prime. You done already. So the Bay is super diverse, especially when it does come to music. Who is the most underrated artist that came out of the Bay that you would love to see get more shine from?
Yeah, that's good.
Man, you know what? And it, not just because we just talked about. I think Etu, he's gonna get the shine
Yes,
that he
sir.
gets it.
Yes,
but
sir.
I think I've seen him come from being a street performer.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
kind of like working his way up the ranks. Where if you see a kid kind of work his way up the ranks and kind of doing the right things,
Yeah.
you root for that kid.
Right.
So when I asked him to be on my show, he's like, "Well, you want me to be on your show?" I'm like, "Bro, I've seen it from the ground
Yeah,
up."
man.
And I think a lot of these artists that are in the Bay now, they want to know your story. So what I kind of do with my podcast, if I do bring them on, I want to know the story.
Right.
Talanoa Hufanga, they didn't know his story.
Right.
So when you talk about, what is your podcast about? It's because I want people to tell their stories. How did Fiji get started? How did Comic Kings get started?
Yes.
How did J Boog get started? Once people know your story, they'll buy whatever you're selling.
For sure.
They'll be more of a fan and feel more connected to you than ever before because now they know your story.
For sure.
Yeah.
A lot of artists nowadays, you have to go on these podcasts to tell your stories. They're not just going to guess.
Right.
And when they do guess, they're going to make it their own assumptions. And when they make their own assumptions, it's normally not the positive ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So you always got to tell your story because the more you tell your story, the more that people know about you, the more they'll buy what you're selling.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And on your podcast, I didn't know that Eddie came from Tonga.
Yeah.
Like, he came
Yeah.
straight from the island. So I'm like, damn, you got
He was
that
fresh off the
sound.
branch. He was fresh off the
bro.
branch, not off the boat, off the branch.
Right.
So,
Right.
and it's good to see a
Tonga
kid go
branch.
from that to go from Tongan culture to go to EPA culture. That's a whole
I know.
EPA is
know.
rough.
Yeah.
And for him to go through that and kind of just stay humble and kind of stay. When I first heard him, I didn't think he was Polynesian.
Yeah.
He sounded
same
Palani
thing.
to me.
Yeah,
so
same
I was
thing.
like, who's this white boy?
Yeah.
It's like, nah,
He
it's a
vibing.
Tongan kid from EP. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then you see it and you don't put the voice to you know me, that's stereotypical of myself. But just in everything, I'm like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to know his story. When he told me his story, I'm like, dude, I'll always support you because I
Right.
know what the grind that you did. Some
sure.
people get it easier than others.
Right.
Some people kind of sit there and got the golden spoon served to them and they'll go straight to the top,
Right.
which is cool.
Right.
But if you have that grind, it tells a better story.
Right. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's that genuinity, bro.
Come on, man.
Cinderella
That's
story.
a big thing.
Yeah.
So, what was that? Oh, yeah. No, we already done something like that. So the music scene is growing
Yeah.
internationally, especially with our people.
Yeah.
Right now, like you got big artists from New Zealand and Australia, from Young and Lips to Kenyon Brown and Donnell Lewis.
Shout them out, man.
Yeah,
DJ Noise and all the family.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Who do you think right now is winning that battle of Polynesian music? Is the U.S. still dominating that right now, or you think
Bro.
that
I'm gonna
international?
keep it real with y'all. I did the Promised Land Festival in Australia.
Right.
22,000 polys
Man,
out there
you
strong.
imagine, bro.
So I've done Island Reggae Festival. It was like 8,000, 10,000. But
Yeah.
when you go out to Australia and you step out on the stage and you look and it's like 22,000 polys
Yeah.
in the rain.
Yeah, right.
Singing and it was crazy. So Comic Kings, I brought them out for them to come. I'm standing next to Wyclef Jean of the refugee camp.
Man.
He's watching the Comic Kings because he's on the bill later on that night.
Right.
So he's a legendary art. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
standing next to Wyclef. I look. I was like, oh shit, Wyclef. He was like, who are these cats? I was like, Comic. And I told him, and he was like, dude, the energy's crazy.
Yes, sir.
He walks on the other side of the stage, watches the show, comes back on the other side. So he's kind of like scoping them out.
Of course.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, that's crazy. He goes, hey, mind if I meet them after that? I said, dude, all good. I said, we would love to, to meet you, hook up with you.
Man.
He says, look, he goes like this, take my number down, get your phone. He said, take my number down. He goes, we need to hook up and we need to do something together. And I'm like, so I go and tell, I said, dude, Wyclef Jean wants to meet y'all. Wyclef goes, meets, he's about to go on stage.
Yeah.
He goes out there, kills it.
Yes, sir.
But we're talking about he does everything from the refugees, from the Fugees
Right,
to
right,
everything.
right. Yep.
And we're like, dude, this is a legend that's kind of like
Amazing.
saying, dude. And he has a video, and Blast was on that same show. Shout out Blast
Shout out
too.
Blast, man.
But we're talking about you're bringing these big acts, having Comic King, Sammy J,
Yeah.
alongside these, and they're doing this in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can't do it out here,
Right. Yeah.
But these bigger artists they want to go to New Zealand.
Right,
They
I
want to
know,
go to
man.
Australia.
Look at Neo,
Exactly.
Exhibit.
Man,
So,
Neo's out there going
and
crazy.
they embrace the culture.
Yeah.
And one thing Wyclef was like, dude, I love coming to New Zealand and Australia because it's crazy. And that's how artists like Comic Kings to be on those bills, to be on these festivals, kind of get their kind of due diligence because
sure.
they've been putting in the work. I've seen Comic Kings come from the ground up. I've
Right.
seen Boog work from Hear Me Roar to where he is at
Yeah,
now.
yes, sir.
You know what I mean? I've seen
Jamming with
Fiji from
acoustic.
exactly.
Yeah.
So to see these guys and to call these guys my brothers, it's like it's crazy to see their stories
1000%.
because they're rock stars. I've been in Fiji, the country Fiji, with Fiji.
Right.
That's like being in Vegas with Elvis Presley.
Right.
Man.
Right.
So I'm walking
right.
along with Fiji, and I'm looking, I'm like, wait, we're in Fiji with Fiji. And it's crazy because that was the first time it was Drew Deasy, Comic Kings, it was J Boog, all of us were out there in Fiji. That Fiji we did a thing. And it was like the stadium that we did it at, it was the Vodafone Arena, it was falling apart.
Oh,
Real
man.
poor. There
Of
was
course.
asbestos coming down. And I was like,
Man.
this isn't safe at all. But just to have all of us out there in Fiji with Fiji, That's an experience.
for sure.
You know, so I told my brother from Samoa, I said, hey, fly out to Fiji. This is like a once in a lifetime, you know, thing. So it's dope to see where they're at now. To see Fiji come out with this Indigo album. I sat in the studio out
banger.
here. Bang. I mean, come on. He's the pinnacle of what island reggae is, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
So he has you know the longevity, and he's come out with a new album, and that new album shitting on a lot of newer artists that are coming. Man, nothing against them. They're all going to say, oh, he's hating.
Been out for a while.
But come on, man.
He's got the greatest voice of all time in my
This-
opinion.
and he has this dolphin octave that he hits.
Yes,
that whistle note.
Yeah,
The
that whistle, and I tried to do it. When you try to do it when you drink, and I couldn't do it. But Fiji can be the only one that can sit down and kill any artist out there vocally, vocally. And if you ever seen the video of Fiji, he did the chant of the islands in New Zealand.
Bro, that was
It
amazing.
gives you chicken skin, man. Just to
straight
think,
up.
a nation, a country, just sitting there singing your song word for word, and it's a chant at that. And he said when he wrote that chant, it's because of that moment. He thought of that moment.
Man.
He said, "Dude, there's gonna be a moment where I'm gonna do this at a festival, and you're gonna
Foresight.
feel everything." So it's crazy.
Imagine.
awesome.
Imagine.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, you already name dropped Etu.
Yeah.
But is there any other young artists, Polynesian artists out there that you would suggest to people at home to go check out and listen to?
Oh, man.
Utah got a big scene. The Bay got a big scene. There's a lot of us growing out here.
There's a lot of people, like, it's not just Bay Area artists, not just people from California. It's like, so Mo Music. I don't know if you guys heard of Mo Music.
Man, Mo, dog.
Mo Music is bad. He's
Fire.
a bad boy. So
Yes,
he
sir.
started off as being a producer, but
Yeah.
as an artist, he's dope.
Whole different tune.
Man, so Mo Music, and there's this girl out of Hawaii, Letisa. She's raw. I mean, I get a lot of music all the time. Can you play my music? But there's these ones that you hear that it's like, man, the sound is different. You know what I mean? And you get to hear the hunger in their voices. You can kind of see everything that they're doing. So all these artists that are coming out, from hip hop artists to shout out Young Go, shout out
Yes,
Craig.
sir.
Well, I'm rocking with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just to see what they're doing and kind of like, man, they're in a whole new lane. I did a show with Young Go in Utah. And it's crazy to see these kids kind of like, you know, island reggae is island reggae.
Of course.
But when you're into this hip hop scene and you get somebody like Young Go and Craig and stuff like that too, it's like crazy.
Right.
Because they're doing it the right way where, you know, I don't know what the street politics is. It's there, obviously.
You're right.
But I know good music. And I know that if you played a Young Go record or a Craig record anywhere else in the world, they wouldn't even know that they were Polynesian.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's dope, man. It's definitely a blessing to see.
1000%.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, you've been DJing too many damn events, man. Too many damn events. What would you say is the biggest difference comparing the Bay crowd to doing it here in Vegas? Because you've been here for a little while now,
Yeah.
and you've done shows out here for a while, but
Vegas is people from everywhere.
Right.
So Vegas is a destination.
For sure.
You know, you get your handful of people that was raised out here,
Yeah.
but Vegas, you got little walks of life from everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's different because you got to also keep that in mind when you are DJing.
Right.
And when me and Westafa do it, so hey, we got to do something for everybody.
of course.
The Bay is the Bay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being biased, but if you play one Mac Dre song, you play one E40 song, you're going to get a reaction that you can't get nowhere else in this world.
Right.
Yeah.
Blow the Whistle from Too Short. You play that,
Man.
it is
Yeah,
Almost anything
yeah,
for Too
everybody
Come on.
Yeah.
and it's just because I was raised on Bay Area hip hop, where you know I grew up in that time where the hyphy movement was it.
Yes, sir.
You know, but when you play that out here, you're gonna get the reaction, but
course.
you're not gonna get that Bay Area reaction.
Right.
You'll have everybody, your moms and dads going dumb.
Yeah.
You know, so it's crazy because that's what I grew up in.
Of course.
I grew up in that era where it could be somebody that's from LA that kind of has the same reaction off playing a Nipsey or
Yes,
you know a
sir.
Snoop Dogg,
Yes,
something like
sir.
that too. So to each his own. But I definitely respect each era. I respect LA. I respect, you know, Southern California. I got family in Long Beach. But it's like I always could say, they don't do it like the Bay. And Westafa will be there and be like, oh, they don't do it like this and that. So it's always a give and take with us, but it's always like, it's always where you're from, but it's like where you're at.
Yeah, of
you know what I
course.
mean? So if
Yeah,
I'm in
of
Vegas
course.
now, I'm going to bring that Bay Area element.
Yeah.
Westafa's going to bring that LA sound to
yes, sir.
everybody. So we kind of have that in Western Conference where we can sit there and do that. And then after I'll do all that, play some island reggae.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Finish off the night,
Yeah,
man. So what was the best event that you've ever experienced personally?
It goes back to Australia, Promised Land.
Still Promised Land.
So,
huh?
I mean, and that's because it was just most recent. Like, I see an Island Reggae Festival grow. Rest in peace to Danny Perez, who was the
yeah,
producer of that. And shout out Retta and the family. But
Condolences.
that was something that they put together that I had a hand in being part from the ground up.
Right.
So their first Island Reggae Festival was something that they brought to the table. It was like, hey, we want to do this concert and this festival with all Island Reggae artists.
Fire.
I didn't even know that was that many Island Reggae artists out there. And I'm like, wait, how are we going to do, Island Reggae? So it's crazy when you do Island and you see all our Polynesian people come together. In the Bay Area, you can get away with that. Because the diversity out there, you can get away with that. Even if you're a Blood, if you're a Crip, wherever hood you from, you can still get away because when you're Polynesian and you're in front of people, you kind of like respect that there's elders there.
Of course. Of course.
LA ain't like that. Shout out all my LA people, but it's like they don't give a shit who's there. If shit hits the fan, it's gonna go off.
But you know what's funny? Like our family, we come from LA.
Yeah.
When I went to the Bay, I felt like it was like that, man.
See, and then it's vice versa.
Yeah.
Like people from coming to LA, they come to the Bay, they think something's gonna pop off, but it's like, I can tell you from my experience, Bay Area loves to have fun.
Right.
I'm not saying there's not no drama because everyone has their drama, but for some reason during the Island Reggae Festival, we put our differences aside to enjoy that day.
Right.
And it's something when I went on the Polytape tour with Drew Deasy and them and Cutthroat, we went to LA and it's kind of like tension. You know what I mean? Not because of anything else. It's just because you felt that gang kind of like tension around it. We went to Salt Lake City, Utah, and it was kind of like tension. You know what I mean?
Man,
and it's because,
crazy.
Polys are going to represent their hood with, wherever they're doing.
Yeah,
So,
facts.
yeah.
And to be honest, man, that's probably one of the biggest losses we've ever taken as a culture is losing Juice Boy, man.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to Juice Boy,
Yeah, man. His bars were phenomenal. Him, Ado, when they got on the same track, bro, undefeated.
And let me just tell you, I've sat in vans and sat in hotel rooms with Juice Boy and Ado and kind of just saying, dude, if you guys keep this up, you guys are next. It's like Ado, come on, man. Ado's he hasn't been out on the scene for a while, but Ado, this is how I decipher it. You have mainstream talent, you have local talent.
Yeah.
Ado's a mainstream talent.
Yeah, he is.
He could be somebody that can be, do it worldwide.
Right.
When you have the local talent, not to say to take anything away from local,
Right.
but you're going to be as good as local is.
Yeah, for sure.
Ado, Juice Boy, a lot of these people that I see now, Etu, worldwide appeal.
Yeah, 1,000%.
You know what I mean? So,
1,000%.
and not that I'm putting everybody in a box. There's some people that just has that it factor.
Right, of course.
And Juice Boy, shout out Mr. Music, shout out Rich Rollins, shout out the Cutthroat family.
Yes,
but
sir.
Juice was the glue.
He was the glue.
You know what I mean? And Juice was the glue, and he was real melodic with what he was doing. And, he gets that from Ado, and Ado did his thing, cut song and all that too. So there's a silver lining in all the music stuff that comes out there because whether it be gang related, whether it be whatever it is, you got to find the soul in it.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like you.
Yeah.
All right. So to get back into the technical difficulties, so obviously, the Bay Area, Polynesian, you think of 49ers and Big Body Cisco. You hosted one of the biggest events that I've ever seen personally from our away team, the Bay Takeover. How was that for you, brother?
Man, it was crazy because the 49ers had reached out and they were like saying, hey, we're doing this Vegas Takeover.
So this was the actual Niner organization?
Oh, yeah, this is a Niner organization. And so they was like, hey, you know what, can you come by, I think we had it somewhere on the Strip, Hard Rock.
Yeah.
And I went over there, and it's crazy because the 49ers, they travel well, the fans.
For sure.
And the Raider games, I used to go to Raider games at Candlestick Park.
Right.
So this is a huge rivalry, even though they are in Vegas now, but any Raider-Niner thing is, so this is the first time they played in a couple of years because of how bad the rivalry was. But to see them travel like that and just kind of get that whole, I had Sourdough Sam, the mascot over there with us too. And we were just doing some giveaways from Zennies, and it was just good to see that whole vibe because, me being in Vegas, it was a piece of home back here. So just have that whole game and to actually go to the game and being on the sidelines, like, all these things fall into place. It doesn't always happen like that.
Of course.
And it just happens. We knew some people that knew some people, and we were on the sideline for the game.
Fire.
And it was like, come on, man. So I'm spoiled. I'm definitely spoiled when it comes. So even when we go back home to the Niner games at Levi Stadium, I'm always on the sideline. For some odd reason, I'm going to wiggle my way to where it's popping. So I can never go to a regular seat now. Now when they say, oh, you want to go to the game? Where are we sitting? When I was like, I'm good. I watch it on TV.
That's a testament to your hustle, though, man.
Yeah, man. They call me Mr. Wigglesworth. I can wiggle anywhere.
Because we don't have too much time, we can't dive too much into all my questions. I had like 15 questions about the Niners for you. But I do want to play a little game of Would You Rather.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you two options, and then you're going to choose one out of the two.
Got it.
So this is a Niner edition, just for you.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Bang, bang. This is a good edition.
So the Bang Bang Niner gang.
Yeah.
Would you rather take the 2013 defense where y'all played the Ravens
Man.
in the Super Bowl, or would you take this year's defense? Y'all had a
know what?
great defense this year too,
I
man.
love the 2013 defense, but this year's defense was raw. And I
Really?
think,
Same way.
and it's
Really?
just this year, I think if we had a quarterback, I'm not gonna make no excuses, but this defense could have won it on any other team.
Absolutely.
If they had that, this defense this year was. I mean, we had all aspects. We something like last year, we were missing some secondary.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of gelled where Jimmy Ward and Talanoa was stepping up, and he had a Pro Bowl year, and just to
Fire.
kind of see that whole thing in our D line, you had Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa was playing out of his mind.
Yeah, y'all welcome. TJ Watt was hurt. Y'all welcome.
But then you have Fred Warner, you have Dre Greenlaw, and
Right.
you just seen all these guys kind of working, and you just like, man, this could be because I've always been a stickler for saying defense wins championships.
Yep.
If
Same.
you have a strong defense, your offense can carry you. You see what we did with a third, fourth string quarterback to get what we had, and it was because of a defense. So
Last
definitely,
man
I
in
would
the
take
draft.
this year's defense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because you already named them, would you take Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, or would you take Patrick Willis and NaVorro Bowman?
You know what? I'm going P. Willis.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
sir.
biased to the
Yes,
Headhunters.
I love Fred Warner's game, and I love what they're doing with it. But Patrick Willis and NaVorro Bowman, I don't know how Patrick Willis slipped through the cracks of this year's Hall of Fame team.
I know.
But
Seriously.
Patrick
Man.
Willis, he had a career when our team was shitty.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about he was bringing in, and shout out Patrick Willis. We went to a club in San Francisco, being in San Jose, and he wanted to meet Talanoa. And so I was like, I'll be right back. So I went to get Talanoa, and I was like, hey, Patrick Willis wants to meet you. He was like, what? So it was Patrick Willis and Dante Hittner, and I kind of made that connection. He gave Talanoa his number. It was like, dude, I like your game.
Damn.
So shout out to Patrick Willis, and NaVorro Bowman was always the unsung hero for me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
that duo will always be the duo for me.
1000%.
But shout out Fred Warner and them Dre Greenlaw doing that thing.
Right. NaVorro
Yeah.
Bowman
They're
was
good
literally-
for this type of game now.
Oh yeah,
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 for
sure.
sure.
saying?
Yeah.
Like if you had Patrick Willis in this defense,
Oh,
it
man.
would be crazy to
Unstoppable.
see what he would be doing. Yeah.
Unstoppable. Well, since you already name dropped, would you take Talanoa Hufanga or would you take Hittner? Dante Hittner.
See, Hittner was there. We was borrowing him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came,
Sure.
so he wasn't. So Talanoa started with the Niners.
Yeah.
We drafted him.
Yep.
He kind of came into his own. So,
Hometown
and
kid.
not that I'm being
Rooming
biased, but
Right.
Talanoa came in and did his thing.
Yeah.
Hittner was already established.
Yeah, he came
Yeah.
from Buffalo.
We got him because he was Hittner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a sportscaster now in the Bay Area. Respect from that. But Talanoa was bred from USC. We drafted him,
Yes,
and that
sir.
kind of makes the story a little bit better for him. For
Facts.
me, yeah. Plus, he was on the Western Conference podcast. So
Right, that part. That part. All right. Would you take Nick Bosa or would you go back and take Alden Smith and Ahmad Brooks?
oh man,
That duo was nice. Justice Smith had a lot to do with
So-
it, but still.
Small bit.
True.
I love Nick Bosa, but if you took the bullshit that came with Alden Smith away, Alden Smith could have been the best pass rusher of our time.
That part.
Because even when he went to Dallas, he was doing his thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Wherever he went with the Raiders, he just had too much stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I've actually done a few functions with Alden Smith when he was on the Niners, and I was like, dude, you could be the next, Hall of Famer. And he thought about other things more than he did football. I mean, more power to him. But out of that duo and out of Bosa and everybody, I'm taking Alden Smith all day without the problems.
Without
Right,
the
right,
problems, Yeah.
I mean, because you already said like you took Talanoa because you guys drafted him, I kind
Yeah.
of figure I know the answer to this one. But would you take Christian McCaffrey or Frank Gore?
Frank Gore's a legend.
Yes,
He's
sir.
our 49er legend.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, don't get me wrong, is one of the baddest running backs in our game. And I don't know how we ended up with him.
No, man.
If I'm the
I
Carolina
seen that move. I
Panthers,
was disappointed.
I'm like, how does the Carolina Panthers let that happen?
It's like AJ
But-
Brown, same thing.
Yeah, bro.
Straight
I've
up.
seen Frank Gore get drafted when nobody took a chance on him, when he was hurt at Miami, and no one wanted to draft him. The Niners kind of seen something in him,
Yep.
and he was a 49er legend. When we were shitty.
Yeah,
You know
just
what I
like
mean?
Willie Willie.
And he was doing his thing, and he did one of them. It was kind of sad to see how his career ended, but to see him be a 49er legend and all-time rush, it was just the dude. McCaffrey's a bad white boy, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
facts,
he is.
facts.
Yeah, he is.
Would you take for the next one? Would you take Debo Samuels, or would you take Anquan Bolden?
There's no S at the end, you fob.
Hey,
I'm
man,
gonna
it's
take
your stuff.
Debo. The reason I'm gonna take Debo is because this. I think Debo's rushing thing the rushing aspect that he brought to
Yeah.
the game,
Yeah.
I don't see Anquan doing.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Anquan was a possession receiver,
Yeah.
and he'll give you that third down, that
He's
third
Heinz Ward
short,
2.0.
And his hands were the ones, but
Yeah.
he couldn't do what Debo could do.
Bring that different
you could put
element to that
Debo
game.
on a jet sweep. You could put Debo behind the backfield.
Yeah.
I was like, put Debo at quarterback when we lost Purdy and Josh Johnson in that championship. But it was like, to put him in the backfield, like, I'm going to take Debo all day. Shout out Anquan Bolden, though. Definitely, he's dope. But he came from the Cardinals and Baltimore. And, Debo, we drafted him. And people know I had my quarrels with Debo because there was and that's my bad. I took a social media post of him not signing an autograph and kind of spoke before I went there. From the camp. Yeah. And I should know better. And I was like, how I dare. And I went to social media and I can learn from my mistakes, but I called him out on that.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, how dare you do that? And I have to remember all these camps that I do with, Brandon Manumaluna, Stag Elite, that there is stuff like that there's a time and a place.
Yeah, of course.
The dad knew what he was doing. Yeah. But I was like, you ain't shit for doing that. So my apologies to Debo. But
it's all love. It's all love.
Yeah.
All right, this is a good one. Would you take Joe Staley or Trent Williams?
Man, Joe Staley was a legend, but
Trent is a different animal, bro.
Trent, I'm gonna tell you this.
Nasty.
Trent is one of those linemen that if you played football, you wouldn't want to go against. If I was to, when you go up to one-on-ones, if I would play D-line, if I would have seen Trent, I would be like, oh, you guys got to tie my shoe. Because Trent is a dog.
Hell yeah.
And ever since he slapped Richard Sherman, I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah. He came up and really came up. He's like, what's up? After the game. So, he about his business.
But you see, he was serious. He kept his helmet on because he was like talking all that shit.
He's smart.
And, Richard Sherman, he's another legend in the game, but he knew how to talk shit and get under people's skin. You seen he got under Trent's skin. But Trent made it a point, was like, well, you know what? When I come over there, I'm going to whoop you. And he did what he had to do.
Don't shake my tree if you can't bear my fruit.
Don't take anything from Joe Staley. He was our tackle in the shitty days with Alex Smith and everybody, but he did his thing. Oh man, when he pulled better than Trent Williams. But Trent Williams, he's a dog. When Trent pulls, he'll sit there and take your soul from you. So, shout out Trent, man. Shout out the Gorilla Man.
I think he sent me a video of when he destroyed 3 players in one play. God damn.
Trent, when he gets on the mean streaks, he'll sit there and take you out of your game.
It's over.
I remember when they played Arizona and he had to get the linebacker in the middle and he demolished him.
Clean.
He erased him from the screen.
Yeah.
But just to see, we're a fan of football and plus we played football, you can respect that.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And just to kind of see the dog in him, I'm like, oh yeah. Joe Staley was technical.
Finesse.
He could sit there, he could get in front of you, but Trent Williams, if I was to make a team, he's gonna be the first person I get.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Would you take George Kittle or Vernon Davis? When I seen George Kittle's stats this year compared to Vernon Davis back in 2013, very similar. But Vernon Davis outbeats George.
I think Kittle's personality wise it gives him the edge over Vernon Davis. Love Vernon Davis as a player. He did his thing and he was always in the right place for Alex Smith.
Right.
Kittle drew the double team. He had safeties worried. He had linebackers worried. So and his personality was like he's not just catching the ball, he can block his ass off too. The pancake count on George Kittle was high. And he has fun playing the game. He ain't do nothing but respect that. Vernon had his things up with I ran into Vernon in a couple of clubs in the Bay Area, so that kind of takes him off my list. So it puts it on George.
Would you take Jim Harbaugh or Kyle Shanahan?
I love Jim. I love Kyle's coaching, the way he kind of makes it. But if we could give Jim Harbaugh this team,
right?
It's to say the scheme would have been different, but Jim Harbaugh was my rah-rah guy. He could sit there, who got it better than us. He was the dude in the locker room where I don't think the 49ers organization gave him a fair shot. He gave him a shitty team. You know what I mean? So, and I think he's still a good coach to this day. He's still doing his thing with Michigan, and I still think he can be an NFL coach. But
Michigan's doing all right.
If I had Harbaugh and could make Kyle Shanahan my offensive coordinator,
oh my god!
Because I love Kyle as a coach, but just put him in the OC position, and he just has to worry about the O. Come on, man.
He's undefeated when he's in OC. Look at what he did with Robert Griffin III.
Yeah, come on. He for his schemes for the football game today, it adapts to players' attributes now.
Right.
Because, back in the day, you could be like a Patrick Willis and do all that. For these ones over here, he's running, motion here, motion there, and plays up here. So his mind is like his daddy's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're X's and O's guys. Right. And I think he'd be one of the most predominant offensive coordinators of our time. Granted, we have him as a head coach. Right. But Jim Harbaugh was a head coach material. He could get his guys going. He'll make you run through a brick wall if you need to.
Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%.
What about Brock and Trey?
Ooh, I'm gonna tell you this. because we played football before, I don't think Trey got a bad shot because he hasn't played enough football.
Right.
And I think we've seen that with Brock Purdy playing all 4 years at Iowa State. And you didn't get that from Trey.
Yeah.
So when I seen Trey play this year, and this is my personal opinion, he didn't have what Brock Purdy has.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy was made for this Kyle Shanahan offense. His decision making. There was many times that he was in there that Jimmy Garoppolo would have been sacked many times.
That's true. That's
Trey
true.
Lance, he needs some time. I think
Yeah.
if he has the opportunity, I think we spent too much too soon on Trey
Absolutely.
Lance. And I think if he sits behind Purdy, because I thought Purdy was going to light a flame under his ass to kind of say, hey, get on your A game. But now Brock Purdy the way he played, it's just unfortunate that he has this elbow injury that happened in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
But Brock Purdy is made for Kyle Shanahan. Like, Kyle Shanahan could have come into a better situation. Mr. Irrelevant, being able to be your quarterback at this point in time. So, shout out Trey, but I think Trey definitely needs to be groomed. If we put a veteran or Brock Purdy in front of him for a couple of years, he's going to be a beast. But right now, I wouldn't play him.
Do you think Brock Purdy is your QB of the future?
If he can come back from that elbow injury, that elbow injury that he got can end careers. Sometimes you can come out of that and not be the same. Tommy John surgery, whatever you call it, that's all in your throwing motion.
Yeah.
Yep.
If he can come back from it and still have the same velocity that he had on the ball this season when he came in, I think he could be the starter.
I heard a lot of baseball players get that injury,
Yeah.
and it comes out faster once they heal.
Yeah, so
But it takes a long
you can either
time.
do it's
Oh,
either
I see.
or.
I see.
You can either, but it takes time, like you said. But if Brock Purdy could come in and do that, and he's a little bit stronger than what he was,
Right.
I'm rolling with Purdy all day.
See.
Facts.
Because another person we got at a discount, Talanoa, 5th round, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah,
the
that's
last
true.
pick is like,
That's
come
true.
on. Those are when the gems come out, and those are ones that you don't know about.
Who are y'all? Pete Carroll? No.
See, I personally don't like Brock. I don't like his footwork. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? His 5-step drops turn into 9.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He pitter patters back there a lot, but he does get out of the pocket a lot compared to, like you said, Jimmy.
Jimmy wasn't getting out of the pocket.
Yeah.
His decision making was like he took sacks that we didn't have to take.
Well, he
And,
thought he was TB12.
yeah, exactly.
I think
I still think TB12. I mean, he says he retired now, but I think once his wife don't take him back, we might have a shot.
yeah, that's true.
Because I think right now he's like, I'm gonna get my
Would y'all
wife
welcome
back.
him?
I mean,
It's the GOAT.
He's a Bay Area kid.
He's the GOAT.
Old.
And the only
Wouldn't
reason I
you?
would hate on it is because I come from an era of Steve Young and Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I hated that he surpassed Joe Montana in
Yeah.
Super Bowl
Yeah,
wins.
fair enough.
Well, that was like, I grew up Joe Montana.
Yeah.
But when he did that, I'm like, hell with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But now it's like, you can't hate on the GOAT.
Right.
He
Yeah.
got rings, and it
Facts.
was a system. He didn't just have to do it with Belichick and the Patriots. He went somewhere else and still was able to do it. So
Right.
respect to him, man. San Mateo kid right there. Sarah High School.
Well, I'm glad that you did bring up Joe Montana and Steve Young because
Yeah.
there's a player that's been playing under them and made All-Pro and Pro Bowl on 2 different positions. Where back in the day, it was hardly even seen that. Do you think Jesse Sapolu ever gets his respect and gets into the Hall of Fame?
He doesn't, and Jesse's a friend of mine,
Give
man.
the man
And
his flowers, man.
I've been able to kick it with Jesse and kind of pick his mind. He's actually going to be on the podcast as well when he's here
Yes,
for his
sir.
camp. But Jesse's a legend, man.
Yes, sir.
And he's one of those that have 4 Super Bowl rings on 4 different Super Bowl teams.
Yeah.
And he was going from guard, center, like they was going all along the line.
Yeah.
And just he comes from
12th
that era.
rounder.
Yeah.
12th rounder.
And, you know, kid from UH that came from over there, and
Kahuku.
man, he
Nah,
just
he was gov.
and
Oh,
now
good.
that you see him,
Yeah.
you walk with Jesse at Levi Stadium, it's like walking with God.
Yeah.
Because he's so respected in that building.
Yep.
So it's one thing about Jesse. I don't think he gets the respect he don't, because I think, in my opinion, he's a Hall of Fame player.
Yep. Same.
And it's because, I mean, he has the 4 rings, but it's like, man, how come he's being overlooked after all these things? I'm seeing people that get in that I'm kind of like doing their
Why?
stats. I'm like, how'd they get in and Jesse didn't?
Yeah.
I don't know what the thing is, but I'm glad Jesse kind of made the Polynesian Hall of Fame
Yeah.
a thing.
Same.
And it's something that he gives back to his people, and he's all about the culture.
Yes, sir.
And it's good for him to have kids like Talanoa come over there
Yeah.
and have Uncle Jesse
Yes,
to be
sir.
the guy that guides them. So Uncle Jesse's a legend to me.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's true.
He's married to our mom's sister.
Okay.
And so we grew up with him, and he's been to a bunch of Niner
So
games.
yeah, luckily I don't know what a regular sheet's like. We were on the field, you know?
You walking around with Jesse, you walking around with royalty.
For real,
bro.
for real.
So, and everybody knows, so all the workers, they're, oh, Jesse, you know. So Jesse is like going to Fiji with Fiji. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You walk around Levi Stadium with the great like Jesse Sapolu, you're doing your thing. So
That's
I can't
what's
wait
up.
to have that sit down with him.
Facts. Well,
And he was fit today. He had the 6-pack and the
I
stuff
know.
at center, bro. Like,
when I used to train
man.
with him, he used to show us all his training videos at UH, and he used to So his youngest son, Roman,
Yeah.
our first
He's a
cousin.
coach now.
Yeah. He's a coach over at UH. He used to talk shit to Roman all the time. He's like, see, I don't care how good you are. You'll never be a lineman with a six-pack like me.
Jesse was one of those. Everyone wants the regular story, but I want the Jesse one where all the Polynesian ladies was on him.
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
at that time, because if you at that time and you was chiseled how Jesse was, come on, man. And he kind of brought the respect. I mean, along with all the players that shout out Junior Seau before his time, but a lot of people in the league respected Jesse. D. Lyman, you know, people that went up against him was like, hey, Jesse was a dog.
Yeah.
So shout out Jesse Sapolo.
That was one of the best matchups in Super Bowl history for our culture was when Junior Seau
Come on, man.
and Jesse went up, man.
And that's crazy because they were in this Super Bowl, and you know they blew out San Diego at the time. But it's like to see Junior Seau as Polynesian kids growing up. Damn, Jesse and Junior Seau in on the biggest stage. On if you look at the Super Bowls now, it's such everyone's watching it. And at that time we're watching it, but we're Polynesian kids seeing two of the best of the time. Junior Seau and Jesse Sapolo doing it. It was ridiculous. It was
Doing
ridiculous.
the damn
Yeah,
thing,
man.
man.
Awesome.
Well, before we run out of time, I do want to ask: Do you keep up with some of this younger talent? Because there's a lot of kids that are coming up big, and back in the day, if you were a Polynesian player, you were either labeled as a defensive player or offensive lineman.
Absolutely.
Do you keep track of any of these younger talents?
I
and
do,
who
man.
are you looking up to?
Shout out Nico.
Yeah,
I think
Tennessee.
I'm also a stickler on not giving kids too much too soon.
Of course.
But I think I've watched Nico and he's been, he does the work. Shout out his dad, shout out the whole family over there, but shout out DJ and Big Dave's kids, Mateo.
Yes, sir.
And of course, you watch all these kids that are sending, because ever since we were little, you always root for the poly kids on the team, right?
Of course.
So when I see these kids now with the NIL deals and stuff like they have these opportunities, like, it's dope. But I see them, you have to put the work in to get where they're at.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And Nico is a testament to that, and you've just seen it with DJ. I'm excited to see what DJ does at Oregon State.
Same thing.
I'm excited to see what Mateo does at Oregon. And
The Civil War
it's just
battle.
All these college games. I only used to watch these games to see what poly kids were playing in these games.
Yeah.
And I
You can
still
only
too-
watch BYU.
Exactly. You only watch Utah or something, but now you're looking at these SEC schools, Tua. You're looking at Maryland, where Tua's brother went. So I'm always looking for the poly kids on the college field, because now those are the ones we're going to watch on Sunday when we get this. So, and shout out Tua, man, because I think he got a bad rap after he got the concussions and everything.
Yeah.
But I think Tua's a beast. He's a baller. He comes from a good family.
Yes, sir.
And, we always kind of not just do the stuff on the field. We look into the background. He has a great family upbringing.
Of
He has a
course.
great family support system, and I can't wait to see what he does further in his career. So I'm always keeping tabs on all the players.
Yes, sir.
And especially sitting down with Talanoa and kind of knowing their story.
Right.
All those kids that we're watching, they all got stories.
Right.
So and I always want to say, bring Mateo to come do the podcast. Bring these, but I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to give him too much too soon.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I even take it down to high school, where you watching them in high school, where like, okay, you watching these powers like Mater Day and Bishop Gorman
John
here,
Bosco.
and my nephew played at Bishop Gorman and just kind of watch the Bishop Gorman. He's going to go to Utah next year. Shout out Jonah Leah, but just to watch these kids and just say, hey man, my nephew. That's we always have that kind of joke. Oh, that's my cousin.
Yeah, of course.
That's my cousin.
Of
But
course.
now they're actually my nephew. Now it's actually is my cousin.
Of course.
So I think that's another good thing about our Polynesian community. We'll always support those that are in position to be supported.
And honestly, that's what we need. It shouldn't just be in athletics. It should be anything,
In everything.
from podcasting to DJing to hosting to anything, man. As long as we're branching out, we can't lose as long as we stay together.
Because as long as you get supported, it takes us back to the mental health thing.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have a support system, your mental health can go quick.
Facts.
I've been fortunate enough to have a good family to kind of turn to when I'm having those times. I
Right.
turn to my mom when I'm having my dark times.
Right.
A lot of these kids, sometimes they don't have that support system.
Yeah, that's
And with whatever they're dealing with, whether it be, it's something that's as taboo as being, in the gay community.
Right.
Where that's taboo to be in. Like, I got a lot of cousins that are in the gay community.
Yeah, I
Where
know.
we were raised where it wasn't a bad thing, but there is something where it is taboo. So whatever have you, those kids are going through the mental health thing where they don't know which is right, what is wrong.
Right.
And it's not us to kind of tell them what's right and what's wrong.
Of course.
It's there to just to be an ear for them.
Yeah,
And I think a
exactly.
lot of
That's
these kids nowadays, it's like they just want to be heard.
Yeah.
And it's not, you have to tell them what to do. You don't got to say nothing. Just hear what they're
1000%.
going through.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
it.
a lot of people watching this now is like, you think your strongest friend can just handle anything. Nah, that's probably the person that needs the most help out of anybody.
Yeah.
So you definitely, especially in our Polynesian community, reach out to those ones that you think are so strong, because you'd be surprised at how bad they're doing.
Yeah, of course, man. That's a great lesson, man. Great teachings. Make sure you tap in with Big Body, man, for real, man.
Western Conference.
Yeah,
Conference. He's also hosting the Holo Holo Fest out
Yeah,
here.
man.
So,
So May 7th through 8th, the Holo Holo Festival is going to be dope. We got Kalohe Kai from Hawaii. We got Jay Boog doing the other night. So it's just good to see all this talent, where I actually do another festival, Cali Roots in Monterey,
Right.
where they have Wu-Tang Clan. Then they have Comic Kings. And, it's just always good to see that. I told you guys about Wyclef Jean. Like,
Yeah.
to see groups that we grew up on,
Right.
and to be big fans, hip hop, whatever it is, and have these festivals. Shout out Dan Sheehan and Good Vibes people and Cali Roots people to put these festivals together and
sir.
include us.
Yes, sir.
There's some festivals that Fiji will be opening that day. It was
Right.
like, why? How's Fiji opening? Because we're in that demographic
Yeah.
where you have Revolution, Stick Figure and stuff like that too, where all these guys are just trying to get in where they fit in, man.
Yes, sir.
They love music, and shout out all the artists that are out there, whether you're an island reggae artist, a hip hop artist, an artist like this, what we're doing here in
Yes, sir.
podcasting. You can do whatever you want.
yes, sir.
And that's what this world is today, where we have all accessible things, resources that we can use. We'll reach out. Talk. They'll talk back.
Yeah.
And the person that you don't think is going to say yes, you'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised,
yeah,
man.
man.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Before we get out of here,
Yeah.
my brother got a segment we want to get into.
Here we go.
Do a segment, but before I get into the segment, I just want to share a quick story with you.
Yes.
So I had met you like back in I think 2013 around
Okay.
there.
Yeah, it's 2012, 2013.
2012, 2013. I forgot what it was called. The Island. The Polynesian Music Festival. It was out in
Oh,
San Fran.
yeah. I got, it was the Fob Nation Awards.
The Five
Yes.
Nation Awards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I had met you that time because I got nominated for, I forgot, I think R&B
Okay.
song.
Solo
Yeah.
artist.
And I had no business being there. My shit is terrible. But I just want to say, like, meeting you, man, you were super humble. I was starstruck when I met you. So,
Oh,
like,
man. Thank you, brother.
So, man, it's big to have you here.
Oh man, I get a bad rap, but I'm always about the kids. I'm always, when I see kids that are not in position, I always tell them, hey, you could do it, And it doesn't sound, it sounds kind of cliche to say, oh, you can do whatever you want,
Right.
Yeah.
But it really means, like, I see artists at award shows like that. You're there for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, we could joke about it and say, oh no, but you were there for a reason, and I think you deserve the recognition. And I think the winner gets the recognition, but everyone that's nominated, they were there for a reason.
Yeah, facts.
So and
Big
it
facts.
just if you have the support from your peers and you have the support that people you look up to, you can go a lot further than because it's going to take that one interaction where I could have said, "Oh yeah, watch out, kid." You were like, "The hell with that dude,"
Yeah.
and I've had that,
Yeah.
and I've had that throughout my career. Career that just said, "Man, I thought he would be more humbler than that." And I think it's important for these young kids to say, if they see the stars like Boog, see the stars like Comic Kings, I can
Big
tell
Body.
you, I can tell you
Body,
firsthand, they take pride in making sure they shake every hand, but there's going to be instances where they can't always take pictures. But I'll tell you, all Polynesian artists will always sit there and take these pictures and take the time out to kind of say, hey, what do you think of this song? I'm not going to listen to it right now, but I'll keep it real with them.
Yeah.
Send it to my email. I'll listen to it again. If I don't like it, I'm not going to play it. If I like it, I'll play it.
Hell yeah.
And I think if you keep it real with the kids like that, you kind of keep them on their toes.
Yeah.
If you lie to them, then I'm going to play it. And you walk away and you don't play it, they're going to be like, I'm not going to play my song.
Yeah. But just to see, like, as I look at you as top in the culture, so to
Man,
see how
thank
cool
you,
you were, man, I was like, how could I ever have an ego?
I'm telling you, being cool in this industry will take you a long way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because you brothers right now, you guys are starting right here, but I'm telling you, you guys are going to grow, and you guys got to remember this conversation we had, because
Yes, sir.
no matter how big you get, you got to always stay humble. And that goes back to my upbringing, my mom and dad.
Facts.
Don't think you're better than what you are. Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get times where I get cocky, but
of
there'll be
course.
times where I gotta humble myself. But these kids these days, they'll take the littlest interaction, and if I'm having a bad day and I said something to you wrong, that could have went a whole another
Right.
direction.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
It meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
So for our last segment, we call this not so rapid fire questions. So they're kind of quick questions.
Yes.
For number one, what was your first job?
My first job was working in UPS. I worked at
oh,
UPS.
really?
Okay.
I was loading trucks. It was a part-time job, and I got caught because I was stealing. because my truck was to the mall, so I had Tower Records, so I was getting all the stuff before it came out.
Right.
And as a kid, I had a job, and I was stealing the jewelry that was going to like the jewelry stores.
Right. You fell off the truck.
And I was like, I don't know what happened. And then they were like, hey, I wouldn't come to work if I were you because they caught you stealing on. I was like, how you get fired on your day off?
On the day off, Craig.
But yeah, that was my first job, like being in the work at UPS.
I love it. I love it. All right. Do you have any hidden talents?
Man, and I know it's not probably hidden because you probably see what I'm driving. I can sing. I mean,
word.
if I really wanted to get down, I mean, my sister's gonna laugh at me, but I think it's because I kind of know my role now that I want to do it.
Yeah.
But if you watch my Twitch shows, I'll sing along with some of the songs, and they'll be like, hey, you got a pretty good voice, you know what I mean? But it's like because I grew up in that. I grew up in the church and like that. So I think that's my hidden talent as far as, being in the industry that we're in. I said, if I see Fiji in the studio, I was like, I wonder if I can let me get in there singing. I see somebody, I can do that too. You know what I mean? So yeah, that'd be my hidden talent.
One of those 20 voices.
Because they were like, hey, Cisco, hop on this song. But they want me to do my Big Body Cisco thing.
Voice,
and I was like, so Common Kings, I'm on the Common Kings album. Shout out Common Kings. I'm thinking I'm going to get on there as a singer. But they was like, nah, just kind of do your big body thing like hyper. I was like, oh, y'all don't want to sing? I was like, I could. I was like, okay. So, but yeah, that's my hidden talent.
Those interactions right there. I'm telling you.
So we're huge comic book nerds, superhero nerds. Do you have a favorite superhero?
I do. I said my favorite superhero was Robin because he was the outcast. And I was like, Batman always got the shine, but Robin was always doing the dirty work. You know? But he would take Robin's credit. You know what I mean? Oh, Robin, go check it over there. And I was like, that's messed up. So Robin is one of my, it's crazy, but it's kind of like outlandish that I would say that, but Robin is kind of my superhero dude.
I love it.
I could never see you in a Robin outfit.
Trust me, and I tried.
Okay, so if you could choose a superpower, what would that be?
Mine would be to read minds.
Ooh.
Because then it would sift out all the fakeness that's around us every day.
True.
I think it's something that, you kind of like say you got it now, but I think with social media especially, someone can come up to me and big me up all this time, but I can just think if I could read his mind, what he's really thinking about, like, the hell with this dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
And I think that would be a superpower that I could use against them to be like, oh, you really don't mean that. You know what I mean? Not that it's going to be, confrontational, but really to kind of say, hey, you don't got to be fake with me, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
straight up.
And not that I'm using my superpower against you, but it's kind of to say, look, let me get all these fake dudes away from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To kind of say, oh man, I'm a big fan. You're not really a big fan.
Right.
If I'm reading, you know what I mean? If I have that
Yeah.
superpower, but yeah, I think reading minds.
I like
that's
it.
a good
Yeah.
one.
Then you could always use it against the women too. Well, that's another story. What happened? Hey, babe.
All right. Do you have a favorite food?
Samoan food. And it's my gift and a curse because I love palasami. I mean, and shout out to Songers who put corned beef in there because once they did that, I was like, hold up, you put corned beef in the palasami too? Right. So, and that's a gift and a curse because we gain weight a lot.
Yeah.
And there's this thing called gout that's going around that you can't eat a lot of it. But man, I love, like my mom makes this chop suey that is just the best.
Fire.
Yeah. And it's like now I have to have her make it with chicken instead of pork because pork kind of makes me limp around. But but I love Samoan food, man. I love it.
See, I'm married to a Tongan, so I got to like inspect my plate before she bring it. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get that horse in there.
Like, what is this?
This beef is tough. What?
All right. So let's go favorite sports teams all around. We know the Niners.
Yeah, I'm a Bay Area kid. So
Okay.
I'm going to go like this. I'm a Niner fan. I'm a San Francisco Giants fan. I'm a Golden State Warriors fan. But my family were diehard Laker fans. And I'm going to tell you what happened. So when we lived in Long Beach, we were around the Showtime Laker time. James Worthy had a basketball camp at Silverado Park in Long Beach.
Okay.
We went there, and I was juiced to meet him.
Yes, sir.
I go and say, hey, is it cool, to sign my basketball? He patted me on my head, said, not right now. That interaction made me hate the Lakers.
Oh, dang.
So I went home, and we had Showtime stuff. My dad said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh no." So my brother to this day, they're all still Laker fans, but I'm just like that interaction
Ruined
changed.
it.
So as soon as we moved to the Bay Area, I'm like, "Who's the Bay Area team?" Oh, the Golden State Warriors. So I've been a Warrior fan ever since.
Okay.
So that just goes back to the interactions.
for
The
sure.
most littlest things. Like it went back to that Debo thing. When Debo didn't shine that picture, it took me back to James Worthy. And
That
I'm
makes
like,
sense.
dude,
That makes
I was that
sense.
little kid.
Yeah.
So I'm a Bay Area fan all the way around. I don't have like a secondary team. Oh, my second team. Nah, I hate people when they say that. Especially when the Niners were doing good this year. Oh, but my second team are the Niners. Shut your ass up.
Yeah.
Stick with your team and be with your team and be loyal to your team.
Thug it out.
You see?
You got to thug it out.
I gotta say too, man. Does the Niners have the fakest fan base or what? Because for the loyalists, yeah, the Niner faithful is real. But then you seen a lot of
I
these.
think
other,
that's in
like,
all the
hey,
sports. I
It's in
think
every sport.
whoever's doing good at the time
True.
Everyone whose team's doing shit, he'd be like, "Oh no, that's my second team."
It's not Night of Faithful, it's Night of Grateful.
Yeah.
He's just grateful that
But I'm a Bay Area sports fan throughout and up.
Facts.
And I was been fortunate to be able to work in the industry, NBC Sports Bay Area. I used to do a show called The Lunchbox, and shout out Lucena. And I used to be able to have access to the Golden State Warriors, to the San Francisco 49ers, to the San Francisco Giants. And a funny story, when the San Francisco Giants played at Candlestick Park, I worked safety patrol, and they gave us tickets to the game, and they hit a home run where when we used to go over the fence, you were able to jump off to go get the ball. So I went to go get a Jeffrey Leonard, shout out Jeffrey Leonard, he hit a home run. I was going to run to get a ball, and this dude knocked me off. And I was like, okay, my whole body was numb. But I've been a Bay Area sports fan for all my life.
That's what's up.
That's what's
Except
up.
for that James Worthy thing. James Worthy, and I go to every collectible show he's at. Yeah, that's me in the line. Say, remember me? So,
Don't you touch my head. All right. If you could reboot any role in any movie that you would play, what would that be?
man, Hitch.
Hitch. Oh, okay.
I mean, and don't take this the wrong way, ladies, but I just felt like I could reboot and do the Will Smith thing, like, because I feel like I have a good grasp on the other, the female aspect,
right?
And I just think in just day and time, the adjustments are there. I mean, you don't got to be a social media dude, but if you do the right things and say the right things, like Hitch was doing,
Right.
Come on, man. But you're gonna get caught up and find that one and get caught up. So, but yeah, Hitch would be one.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's the first time we ever got
I
Hitch.
know. We never got Hitch.
I love it. Okay. Do you have any pet peeves?
Fake people. It goes back to what I was talking about. Only because I could be. Everyone could be fake when they want to be fake,
Right.
But I think there's a time and a place to be genuine, and I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where people are fake when it's supposed to be genuine.
Yeah, man.
And I think if we had more people being genuine when it's time to be, I think this world would be a better place.
True.
But in this instant gratification in the social media world that we live in now, they have to be like that.
Yeah.
And it takes from TikTok to Instagram to all these places to kind of say, make these nice little content videos. Where it's like, nah, a lot of these that I see is like, you were fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my pet peeve, and that's just because that and lying. I just don't like people to lie about it.
True.
If you can't do it, don't do it.
Yeah, facts.
Straight
Don't sit
Big
there and be like,
facts.
I gotta go do this. Like, just tell me you can't do it. I would respect you more
Yeah.
if you just told me the truth.
Of course.
And there's a time and a place for that too. Like, and I always say is like, if you can't do it, just say you can't do it.
Yeah.
If you can't be there, just say you can't be there.
Right.
Then we can move along.
Yeah, of
if you're
course.
sitting there, you know what, give me a call and then I'll let you know. Like you asked me to be on the podcast, I could have easily said, give me a call, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
as soon as
for
you gave me a
sure.
day, I could do this day.
Hell
If
yeah.
I'm in town, I'm gonna do it, bro.
Hell yeah.
So that's why I say, if I'm here, we're gonna do it.
I love
yeah.
it.
Facts.
And for our last two, do you have a favorite quote you live by?
Oh man, live life to the fullest because life is short.
Right.
And if you guys follow me on Instagram, you see I do a morning message every morning.
I'm in it, man.
And-
You gotta
and-
follow
and I don't-
Big Body.
And I don't do the morning message for anybody else but myself.
Yeah,
That's how
cool.
I start my day. I always look for a quote, and I said, you know what? If that helped me out, why wouldn't it help my following out?
yeah.
And I have a platform. So now that I have people checking for what I'm posting, every morning you'll find a morning message. When I don't post a morning message, that doesn't mean I'm hungover. I just overslept. But I always try to get my morning message in a time frame, because I think if you strategically know how to post posts, like peak time is 1:30, at 6 p.m. and on.
Right.
If you post in the morning, people are getting ready for work. Everyone's on their phone. It's an addictive. It's an addiction that everyone is go through. But if you start with that morning message, like everything could be like, I've had people come up to me in New Zealand and Australia, like, man, I follow your morning message.
Yeah,
and it's
day,
crazy.
man, every
And it's
day.
something that I just put up for myself. It's crazy how it kind of touches people all across the world.
Right.
And they
It
can
is.
sit there and that one little instance of looking at a morning message, as opposed to somebody just dropping it like it's hot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna want to get that morning message, because
Yeah.
I think if you start off your day positive, your whole day is gonna be better.
Let's go.
It's not always the case because stuff happens on there, but if you have that morning message and you get that motivation, do it for yourself and then say, let me share that with my followers. So,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I love it. I love it. And for our last one, if you could give your younger self any advice, what would that be?
Take your time, man. I rushed into a lot of stuff. I had my oldest son when I was graduating high school.
Oh man.
And my oldest son now is about to have twins, so I'm about to be a grandfather.
Congratulations.
Hell yeah.
So take your time, man. I mean, we're such in a rush.
Right.
And I think if I was able to sit there and kind of take my time, and I'm doing a lot of things that I'm doing now, but I feel like I'm rushing it
Right.
because I feel like, I don't have that much time. Time is, you can't get back. And I think time is of the essence. And I'm not saying take your time and waste time. Take your time and enjoy life because everybody has an expiration date.
Yes, sir.
When it's your time to go, it's your time to go.
Yes,
Whether
sir.
you know it or not, all of us are going to pass at one point in time. Your loved ones are going to pass at one point in time. What did you do in that time you were here that made a difference? You know what I mean? And it goes back to me saying that I want to make my mom and dad proud. They're still here, fortunately. Yeah. But, you know, unfortunately, they may not be, you know.
Of course.
And I have to remember that, okay, I got to go visit my mom. I talk to my mom every day. And you know, my dad not as much, but when I do talk to him, he's always, oh, I love you, son. And those interactions they might not always be there.
Right.
So if you do have a parent here, if you do, you know, have your loved ones here, talk to them, reach out. If you're bored and you're not doing nothing at home, call your favorite uncle. You're like, I'm headed out to the Bay Area tomorrow because my favorite uncle's turning 70 years old.
Man.
But I have such a busy schedule. I told my brothers, hey, because a lot of people from my parents' era, they're passing away. During the COVID times, all my mom and dad's friends were passing.
It's tough.
So my favorite uncle's turning 70 tomorrow, and he's in Sacramento. And I'm saying, you know what? Let me kind of put everything to the side. I told my brother, hey, let's go check out Uncle's 70th birthday. So I'm gonna be there tomorrow because he's gonna remember that.
Right.
And you know, people that come there, even kids get football games. If you can't be there, try to be at any function because those people are gonna remember who was there.
Right.
Whether it be your marriage, whether it be your birthday party, whatever big life event it is. They're gonna know who was there and who wasn't there.
For sure.
And I want somebody to be at my funeral and be like, hey, Cisco was at all our stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I hate talking about death, but I always mess around with my kids and I always tell them how I want my funeral to be.
Yeah.
I say, bury me ass up because I want everybody to kiss my ass. You know what I mean? So, I joke around that because I want my kids to kind of say, Dad always talked about this, because when that day finally comes, they're gonna sit there and laugh and be like, man, remember Dad said do this?
Yeah.
Do we do this? Because I was like, hey, all the baby mamas get 1 minute tops on the mic. And they were like, wait, Dad, what? And I joke around with my kids, and I have this open relationship with my kids to say, I didn't have these conversations I had with my mom and dad. I couldn't joke around. It was taboo to joke around with my dad. Respect, you know what I mean? So we were all, was always sitting upright and everything with my kids. I'm like their friend. Yeah. Thin line, though. Of
course.
There's a thin line. Because there's a time to be a friend, there's a time to be a parent.
Of course.
But there's that time to be like, okay, you see this look on my face, that means, all right, no more joke time's over.
Of course.
And I learned that from my dad, but I think growing with my kids and having them able to tell me anything.
Yeah.
My son telling me that my son's married and he's about to have twins, but for him to tell me, I was petrified when I had my first son. I didn't know what to tell my mom and dad. At that time, we weren't supposed to be pregnant. You know what I mean?
Straight up.
So that's why I try to make it for my kids where, I'm the cool dad, but still, Pop goes through dark times.
Yeah.
Moving to Vegas by myself. All my kids are where they're at, but still, you're in Vegas alone.
Right.
But when you kind of have, who lives out here? Okay, Franny and them. It's cool, but when you're in that apartment and it's 2 a.m, you're like, what's going on over here?
Right.
But I've learned, my brother's moved to Summerlin. His son went to Michigan. Like I was telling you guys, take advantage of those,
sir.
interactions. Hey, you want to come do the podcast? Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Because what would I be doing right now? I'd be working on a project at home, kind of working on my stuff.
Right.
Work is work, but you kind of want to make time to kind of like sit there, come shoot the shit with you guys, kind of like just share your experiences, because somebody's gonna watch this when I'm not here and be like, man, Cisco was a cool dude.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Man, they say never meet your heroes, but man, I'm grateful I got to meet you, man. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast,
man.
for being humble enough to
Absolutely.
accept our invite, man. And we wish you nothing but luck, love, everything, man.
Come on, man.
The more you eat, the more that it paves the way for the rest of us to follow, man.
And what you just said, it goes back to my brother Mike, who runs Stabs Clothing. This jacket I have. Everybody eats.
Yes, sir.
It takes it from Paid in Full, the movie from Dame Dash.
Yes, sir.
Everybody eats, B.
Yes, sir.
And that's because if your friends are there, if your friends and family, stop trying to say, okay, let's eat over here. Let's not let them. There's enough for everybody.
Right.
When I moved to Vegas, all these promoters like, hey, what you doing in Vegas? Because they were afraid that I was going to do something. Like, bro, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So whether it's a podcast, whether it's whatever you're doing in life, there's enough for everybody.
Of course.
Stop being so damn stingy with it.
Yeah.
Because so how come you did their podcast and do my podcast? I'll do it. Let me do it.
Yeah.
But always kind of sit there because I want to share the game and my experiences. Right. I've lived the life of many men. And I can sit there, if I pass tomorrow, I can say, man, you know what? I lived my life.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the person that does pass away and I'm in heaven like, damn, I should have did this.
Yeah.
And look down and be like, man, I wish I would have did that.
Right.
So live life to the fullest.
Yes, sir.
Any opportunity you can do to make yourself happy, do it, because we don't got this much time. Everyone thinks time. Oh, I'm young. No, you could be 23 and pass tomorrow. And you could be 103 and sit there and be like, how come I haven't passed yet?
Yeah.
So
1,000%.
it's a give and take. So I respect what you guys are doing because everyone has stories.
Of course.
And we're all telling our stories, and we're all just kind of just being a part of the culture right now.
Of course, man.
You know, and nothing to take away from our Polynesian culture. I may not have been raised the Fa Samoa way,
Right.
but I'm always going to have respect for my Samoan people. I'm always going to have respect
straight
for,
up.
you know, there's a time in the Bay Area when Samoans and Tongans didn't get along.
Yeah, I know.
But now, Toko Uso movement comes
Yes,
in. It's
sir.
like, you know, and I can say this to this day, you know, there was times where I did a fashion show. They said, oh, wear this Tongan jersey. I wasn't going to wear it because my pride wouldn't let me.
Right.
But now that I think about it, oh, yeah, I could wear it now.
Yeah.
But because the way we were raised, we were so prideful. When I grew up, it wasn't always cool with everybody.
Right.
But now it's like, man, whether you're Tongan, Samoan, Fijian, Hawaiian, whatever any walk of life you have, do it for the culture,
Yes,
but do
sir.
it the right way. I'm not saying
Yes,
I'm faking
sir.
the culture because I know all the Samoan culture. I know all the Tongan culture.
Right,
Now, I know what I know, and I know what my family raised me on.
Right.
And
Straight
it was
up.
morals and respect, and that's something that we could take from our Polynesian culture.
Facts.
Yeah.
Shout out to Talanoa.
Yeah.
But nah, man, thank you so much for being
Yes.
a guest, man. I can't
Thank you,
wait.
guys.
Once we get some of our next guests on, I would love to have you back on.
Come on,
here,
man. I'm just a phone call away.
part two.
Whatever you guys need, I'm always here, man. Hell
Genuinely,
yeah.
man. Well, appreciate y'all listening. Please like, subscribe. Come check out Big Body, man. He got so much in the works. You want to let the people at home know where they could find you at?
Yeah, Big Body Cisco on all social media. It's BIGBODYCISCO. People ask me where I got that from. My cousin was a rapper. His name was Boss Breaker. He was like, you need to have a BB too. I was like, BB what? He was like, Big Body. I was like, all right, let's do Big Body. So you can find me on all social medias there. Western Conference on YouTube. And we're on all podcast platforms from Spotify to Apple Podcasts and all
Yes,
that,
sir.
man. So it's there. It's just a matter of you guys going to go check it out.
Yes, sir.
We can lead you guys to the water, but we can't make you drink it.
That part. And don't just watch the Polynesian episodes either, man. I'm telling you, man. He
Watch
got
all of them.
Watch all of them.
Because even the entrepreneurs, you'll get some little gems from those
Let's go.
that's gonna be worth watching.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Yeah, man.
All right, brother. We appreciate you. We out.
Yes.
Peace.